Hello.
Okay, this webinar is being live streamed.
Okay, we're live streaming and we are recording. I see Kevin, bring him on.
And Colby, your microphone is a little muted.
All right, is that better?
I hope so.
No,
I just want to make sure we hear you.
it's odd. Let's see.
Can you pull it closer to you?
Yeah, it shouldn't be. It's pretty close.
Okay.
Let me turn it off and turn it back on.
All right. Oh,
Right.
and Kevin is.
Let me bring on Kevin first.
I think the 347 is Lee. Can we try him again?
Hold on. How's the microphone?
Good.
Okay, a little better?
Uh-huh.
All right, let me try. Telephone number ending in 347. Is that Lee Jamison? Please identify yourself.
Do we have a roster with phone numbers? No.
Oh, but I kind of remember it being 347.
Lee?
He's probably
Does
signed
anyone
on.
have?
You can
I-
dial star 6 to unmute.
Here now?
Yes. Is
Okay.
that Lee? Lee?
Yeah, I'm on board. I was just having technical problems.
All right. Well, welcome, Lee.
Thank you very much.
Very
All
good.
right.
So it looks like we have everybody except Arthur, who's coming in.
Arthur, who's
a
going to be
little bit.
late. So why don't you go ahead and start the meeting so we can take roll?
Yeah, I'm
What
starting
time
the meeting
is
at
it?
7:05 p.m. It's
All
going to be
right.
recording and live streaming. Go ahead, Robin, as well.
All right. Welcome, everybody. It is the general board meeting, June 1st, 2022 at 7 p.m. or 7:05 p.m. When I call your name, just say here. Colby Jensen,
Here.
Catherine,
Here,
Arthur is going to be late. If anybody notes when Arthur arrives, please let me know so I can note the time. Robin, I'm here. Ren?
Here.
Thank you. Fred?
Here.
Matt?
Here.
Lee?
Roger.
Suzanne?
Yes.
Tess?
Here.
Kevin?
Here.
Sean?
Here.
And Jake?
Here.
All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We have quorum. Go ahead, Colby.
Thank you, Robin. Welcome, everybody. I'm going to just get right into this because we have a tremendous meeting tonight. We have a lot to do. Hopefully it won't be the longest meeting, but it's the last day of the year. So I hoping it won't be the longest meeting of the year, but it could very well. So sit back and get comfortable. I'm going to open this up to open public forum. Please raise your hand in the public and our stakeholders. Thank you.
Colby, did we skip over doing minutes?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I got so excited about open public forum. You're right. Thank you so much. Motion A, approve the GTLNC May 17th, 2022 general board minutes as amended. Do I have a first on this?
Catherine first.
Thank you,
Right,
Catherine.
Catherine? Okay. Second, please.
Susanna?
Susanna, discussion on this? Nothing from the board. I see David Wheatley from the public. Hi, David. And then, where are you?
That might be for the public forum.
Yeah, I think I'm not in on the minutes. I'm just in on the public.
Thank
Okay,
you,
then we'll
David.
come back to you.
All right.
Any
See,
discussion on the
hearing
minutes?
none, I'm going to take a vote for motion A to approve the.
I do have one
Oh,
question.
Go ahead. Mhm.
So there have been some updates here on the standing neighborhood news and announcements. We still have Brenda Yanez from the LA County Supervisor's Office, in addition to Jason Maruka, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
Jason, yeah, he still comes on frequently.
Okay,
Jason
so,
Baruka is number 19, the supervisor for Catherine Barger.
right, so do we have two Board of Supervisor or, sorry, hold on, is he,
No, one is
Oh.
LA County.
one is county?
So I think what Tess is seeing, Robin, we missed one place where we needed to update on the agenda.
Which is what?
It still says Brenda Yanez on the bottom of page 2.
Brenda Yanez. So is it not Brenda Yanez? It's Jason Maruka?
Yeah, he took over.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So let me replace that. Jason Maruka. And he is not the assistant field deputy, or he is for Supervisor Catherine?
I think he is the field deputy.
Okay, okay, so I'm just gonna eliminate this whole thing. All right, it's been done. Great, thank you for catching that. Anything else? Any other discussion?
I
All
don't
right,
see anything.
motion A to approve the GTLNC May 17th, 2022 General Board Minutes as amended. Catherine,
Yes.
Arthur, oh, he's not here, so excused. Robin is a yes. Ren,
Yes.
Fred,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Lee,
Affirmative.
Susanna,
Yes.
Tess,
Yes,
Kevin,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
and Jake.
Yes.
I'm a
Okay,
yes.
motion carries. Oh, Colby, sorry. Colby. I always got to remember to go back. Motion carries 12-0-0. Thank you very much. You can now move on to open public forum.
Great. Open public forum. I would encourage stakeholders to raise their hand.
And
If you're one of
anything
the-
that's not on the agenda.
Yes, if you're one of the two stakeholders who is going to be voted upon tonight, we ask you to hold your speech until that time of the agenda. I see David Wheaton. Hi, David. David,
David?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool. Hi, David Wheatley, stakeholder in Toluca Lake. Good to see everybody. And yes, my usual diatribe about Cahuenga Bloomfield, I like to keep that alive and see if we can put that on the agenda for next month to have some members of this committee look into how this project is coming along to make sure that they're building it properly with the proper quality of building materials. It's a giant structure. I don't know if anybody's gone by, and I've been complaining about this for 2 or 3 years and getting basically nowhere. So I'm hoping for a breakthrough at some point. And if this could be on the agenda for next month, maybe that could be the breakthrough that I seek, and maybe others will join in at that time. I'm not able to stay for the whole meeting, but I support Jonathan Gregory. Just thought I'd slip that in. And what else? Other than, he's terrific. And other than that, that's all I have. So I just wish everybody the best and keep it coming. Toluca Lake's an amazing place, and so disappointed that the post office that seems to be going, I don't know what's happening with Michael's, that UPS store, these companies can just come in and just tear stuff down. It's like, and neighborhood councils just roll over. I don't know why. There needs to be, I think anything that comes up to the city council needs to have a community impact statement. Every single thing that, don't interrupt, please. Everything that they can, that we can think of, anything we have an opinion on needs to have a community impact statement, even if it's just a couple sentences. So with that, I pass. Thanks.
Thanks, David. Any other stakeholder input? Please raise your hand at this time. I'm going to give it a few more moments. Sometimes it's hard to manage the controls on Zoom.
Colby, your microphone is a little bit muffled again.
I'm muffled again? Yeah. It's weird. The speaker's not. How about now?
Yeah, it's
Still muffled?
Mhm.
That's better.
Sorry, guys.
It's just not clear, that's all. It's
Yeah.
not very loud.
Manage, hold on, let me unplug my speaker again.
All right. I don't see any other hands up, Colby, so we can move
Okay,
on
let's
to
move
city
forward
news and announcements.
To city neighborhood news and announcements. To make it easier, just please raise your hand. I'm gonna look for you too, but please raise your hand if you are on the roster for community news and
Steve
announcements. Oh, Steve
Ferguson.
Ferguson, great,
Just raised his hand.
from the Zarian's office. Hi, Steve.
Hello there, and hello, members of the council. Thank you very much for, again, the opportunity to address you and to kind of keep you updated about the latest in-state business. Wanted to obviously address the state budget has been passed, but while that spending plan is now in place, there are a number of spending bills, one-time asks of individual members of the legislature, et cetera, that are going to be negotiated out over the next few weeks as trailer bills. So including things like gas tax relief and some other kind of hot topics that have been discussed. So the legislature will be working kind of throughout the summer, half of July and into August to kind of wrap up their spending plans. So stay tuned there. We certainly hope next month to be able to report out on more than a few budget wins that could impact Toluca Lake. So we're continuing to work on that end. We also have a meeting, our bi-weekly kind of cross-agency meeting with Council District 2 and Supervisor Barger's office tomorrow as we discuss some encampments that continue to move kind of around the community. We're seeing as the weather gets warmer and warmer, folks are kind of coming for different locations that are new challenges. So we're working actively with Caltrans where able to get them out, but also realizing a lot of this because of the wash and other locations really require all agencies kind of working together. So we will be circling up tomorrow. Specifically, I'll be discussing encampments on Vineland, Riverside Drive, under the underpass, and a number of others that have been kind of escalated by the community. So just wanted to let you know that that's kind of where the focus is for the next few weeks, and certainly hope to report back on any updates we have from Caltrans about cleanups and relocations.
Wonderful, thanks, Steve. Thanks for the report. Start with board members. I see Tess has a question.
Hi, Steve. You were fantastic coming out with Assembly Member Nazarian to our last neighborhood cleanup. Thank you, thank you. And I really appreciate your efforts with these interagencies or cross-agency meetings that are, I think, really finally trying to address a chronic problem in our area. So that is very much appreciated. I want to give a big shout out to you and the Assembly member. And there will be an invitation forthcoming for you to speak at one of our upcoming committee meetings. So I'll shoot you an email later. Thank you.
Understood. Thank you. And please put me to work. Appreciate it.
Any other questions, comments from the board for Steve? If not, we'll go to stakeholders. All right, stakeholders, do you have a question for Steve Ferguson or comment? Okay, nothing here. Okay, well, Steve, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I appreciated the correction on the agenda earlier this week. Thank you for that email.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Colby, unless somebody raises their hand, I don't see any other person on this list other than Ryan Altoon, who is going to be doing a presentation. So I don't know if he wants to use his time to say anything now or. And Brandon Pender just.
Actually, Brandon has a. Hi, Brandon.
Excuse me. Hello, Greater Toluca Lake Neighborhood Council Board, everybody. I'm Brandon Pender. As you know, I'm your one of three of your budget advocates for Region 4. That is the excuse me. That is the southeast portion of the valley. Real quick, I want to let you know that we did have a successful budget day last Saturday. And if you want to see, if you weren't able to make it, and you want to see what happened that Saturday, we have a link on our website, which is budgetadvocates.org. And when you see the flyer there for the budget day, just click onto that, and there'll be a link to view the recording of our activities on budget day, and that includes some of the people that were on our panel, which was the city controller, Ron Galprin, and some other members of the and supervisors of the city of Los Angeles that have to do with the budget. and also the Q&A that we had that was set up by the budget advocates for a lot of those people. And then we also have breakout sessions for all the different regions. Region 3 and 4 were together. So a lot of them were two or three regions that were together at that particular time. Now, next, this coming Saturday and Sunday, we're going to be having our budget advocate elections, and region 4 is going to be on Sunday, I believe at 1 o'clock. I will send a link to Colby to send out if anybody's interested in sitting in on that. This is mostly for budget reps to participate, but anybody can view. And thanks to we do have our 2 budget reps for Greater Toluca Lake. That would be myself and Tess Taylor. And hopefully I'm going to be running for to be reelected as a budget advocate of one of 3 people in this district. And hope to serve you again for the next 2 years, or when my usefulness has ended, so to speak. Anyway, but also, again, I kind of stress that anybody who's engaged with the neighborhood councils, whether you be on a committee or on the board, or maybe you're not in the committee, but you attend the meetings, can help the budget advocates. So you can always go to our website, and there's a link there where you can communicate with the administration of our organization to say, hey, I'd like to not only visit our meetings, because they're all the meetings are public. We meet twice a month, the first Monday of the month and the third Saturday of the month. And the Saturday is Saturday morning from 9:30 until normally lasts maybe 2 or 3 hours. And then the first Monday is normally about 2 hours, and that starts at 7 o'clock. But also you can involve yourself in the committee meetings for the white paper, because that's the first thing that we do. Once we're finished with our elections and we got our budget advocates together, we set up a time to have a election for the officers of the budget advocates, the co-chairs and the vice chairs for different areas. And then we put together who's going to be on which committee to interview the department heads. And then we send out emails to invitations to the different department heads of the city to interview with them as soon as possible, because as you know, the mayor, whoever that may be, starting at the first of next year, will be putting together their budget as soon as possible and having it ready. Having it ready as soon as possible to put out for budget period of 23-24. So anyway, so that you can do that. So anybody can do that. Anybody can contribute. You can write a white paper and contribute. You don't have to be a budget rep. You don't have to be a budget advocate. Just be a concerned stakeholder. Great. So I hope you can do that. So that's it in my report, and it's been very nice serving with you guys for the last several years. I think I've been with your particular neighborhood council since 2011 or 12.
Right. I know you've done a great job, and you're so thorough and diligent, and we really appreciate it. Whoever replaces you definitely in the future has big shoes to fill. Thank you so much, Brandon. We really appreciate the entire board. Thank you. Any quick questions for Brandon? If not, we have Erica and Tiffany who wish to speak also.
We're going to try to make budgets sexy.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Brandon. Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right. Next up, we have Tiffany. I don't see your hand raised, but I know, or maybe Eric.
Yeah, they both have their hands raised. Tiffany.
I'll go to Eric.
All right.
Hi, Erica.
Hey, everyone. So I do have a couple of updates, but I'll start by sharing that our department sent out our monthly profile as it is every first week of the month. And so if you don't know already, our monthly profiles just provide some department updates, announcements, and things that we think would be useful to our NCs. And so this monthly profile was quite lengthy. So I would encourage you all to review it when you have some time, but I'll go over some quick points here. So on the profile, it kind of provides steps on how to manage potential conflict of interest issues. Usually I like to read the conflict of interest statement at the beginning of every NC meeting, but this kind of provides you a breakdown on how to go about it with working with your legal liaison, which will be Kobe in this case. It also provides information about our empowered virtual governance. So as I provided updates in the past about not being given any information as of now, whether or not we will be going into in-person meetings, the monthly profile does provide an update stating that our department is working with the SEED scholarship program at Cal State LA. And so we'll be working with that program to put together a survey to send out to all neighborhood council board members, just to kind of gauge to see who is ready in the case we are given the green light to go to in-person meetings. So that's being put together. Our staff is being asked to provide any questions that we think should be included on this survey. So if you have any questions in mind of what you think that should be asked of all NCs, feel free to shoot them over to me. I'm happy to share that, to send that over to our team. Next, I wanted to note that we do have our election strategy plan town hall that is scheduled for Saturday, July 16th. This will go into depth about our budget for the upcoming elections. I want to give a shout out to Matt, who allocated some time for me to meet with him to talk about our upcoming NC elections, as well as the awareness and engagement survey. I'll mention this a bit later, but there is a form that we'd like Greater Toluca Lake to complete, so that way it can provide us better insight of how we can best assist this board with the upcoming elections. Let's see here. Last thing I wanted to mention about the monthly profile is that I'm doing my best to share any legislative updates that are coming my way. So I'm doing my best to send that to all my NCs. So you should be receiving emails from me as soon as I receive them. And then a couple other things. Some time ago, Kobe had asked me to provide any small business resources that are available that the city provides. So I did want to share that the city contracts with local nonprofits. And so we have what's called business source centers throughout the city of Los Angeles, including one in South LA. If the Greater Toluca Lake NC is interested in sharing any resources that this program offers, I would encourage you to reach out to Louis Luna. He oversees the South Valley Business Source Center and can be reached at Luna, that's Luna, at iconcdc.org. So again, these business source centers are a program with the city of Los Angeles, and so they help small businesses with cost-effective tools and that support their growth and presence in communities. I just wanted to share that. And then lastly, you may have seen in emails or past monthly profiles, but our department has been sending out communications about NCs taking over the Zoom license expense. If I'm not mistaken, we kind of touched upon this previously, but I just wanted to make sure that I brought this up to the board again, because I don't recall if Greater Toluca Lake has taken, has agendized this expense. And if not, we need to move forward with doing so as soon as possible. So those are all the updates that I have for you. Thank you.
And Erica, what did you say this expense was? Is this the Zoom expense?
That is correct. So I want to say as of March, our department has been messaging NCs that we will no longer be paying for the Zoom expense, the Zoom licenses. And so that's about $200 per Zoom license. And so originally we were trying to get all NCs on board to agendize this by May, but there was a lot of delays with NCs, and some of them not knowing, or it being too late, or with just details not being communicated. So anyways, our department has taken it upon itself to purchase the Zoom license for the upcoming year. But it is very likely that the department would be invoicing each NC for that expense. So,
So
yes.
Erica,
Mhm.
do we at this point need to put on our July meeting agenda something to approve up to 200 or whatever dollars for the Zoom license?
Yes, that is correct. Although
Okay.
we passed that May mark, the department is still asking NCs to agendize this item.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll do that. Robin, please make a note.
I
of
did.
that.
I did.
Do that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thanks especially for the small business assistance. I have the email luna@iconcdc.org. And the contact name was, again, please remind me his name?
The contact name was Lewis.
Lewis.
Luna.
Okay.
And again, he oversees the South Valley Business Source Center.
Great. And I see that
Tiffany.
Tess has her hand up. Hi, Tess.
Hi, Colby, could you or Erica please send me Lewis's email? I didn't quite catch it in the, when you.
Yeah, it's I'm right now. It's LUNA at
Okay,
ICONCDC.org.
.org. Very good. Thank you. And two quick questions for Erica, please. Well, one comment, I want to thank you for the legislative update. I thought that was really good, Erica, and I'm planning to agendize a couple of those items for community impact statements. And number two, the $200 per year Zoom license per neighborhood count, that's per year, correct?
That is correct. That's an annual expense.
Okay. And is there any indication of our neighborhood council budgets being restored to their pre-pandemic levels of $42,000 a year?
Now, you know what, our department does meet with the city clerk's office, I want to say once every 2 weeks or at least once a month. And it was communicated at the last meeting that no, the budget will not be increasing back to pre-pandemic amounts.
Well, that's disappointing. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I see Ren has his hand raised. Hi, Ren.
Yeah, just if we're going to do it Zoom for a year, is that a presumption that we're going to continue to have Zoom meetings and not have meetings in public at the school or wherever?
No, that wouldn't be the case. We are, as I kind of alluded before, we have not been given any additional information as to when or if we will be meeting in person. But as of right now, the department is encouraging all NCs to agendize this expense because, for that reason, that we don't know what to expect. So at least we have our Zoom platform set up for virtual meetings.
Good to kind of do. We're talking about the budget going forward this evening anyway. That's good. I see that Susanna has her hand raised. Hi,
Yeah.
Susanna.
Hi. So in terms of the virtual meetings, a lot of meetings now are what we call hybrid meetings. That could also draw more attendees to meetings like the Greater Toluca Lake Neighborhood Council. It does require a camera and some additional equipment. Is that anything that the city has considered, or is that also a cost that could potentially go to each individual neighborhood council with limited budget these days?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. I know that our department, as I've mentioned, our EVG work group is trying to work through these details with BONC as well as the departments of trying to update policies and conform to state legislation to make sure everything's in alignment. But we haven't got as far as to, you know, what that would look like if we were to go to hybrid meetings. We understand that, you know, we have thought about, you know, who's going to do the setup, you know, what does this mean for individuals who won't be attending the in-person and will be virtual? Will their information need to be listed on the agenda? There's so many things that we're still working through, but I think your question about the additional equipment is a good point. So I'm going to make a note of that to include that in the survey, to include that as being one of the questions that go out to all the NC board members, because I think that's important to keep in mind. So thank you for asking.
Thank you.
All right, I'll go to stakeholders now. Any questions regarding this? Anything for John or any questions for Erica from the stakeholders? If not, we'll move on to Tiffany for her report. All right, well, thank you, Erica. I'm sure we'll hear from you later on in the meeting, and thank you so much for for checking in with us. Okay, I'll move on to Tiffany. Thanks, Erica. From CD2. Hi, Tiffany from CD2. How are you this evening?
Hi, Kobe. I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
Very well, very well.
I just had a few updates. They're more tailored to specific questions I've gotten from neighborhood council members. I'll start off with Foreman and the 134 because I know that's a hot button topic for Ren, and I wanted to make sure, everyone was up to date on that. From my understanding, as of last Tuesday, it officially left the hands of the city clerk and is now in its final review with the city attorney. Once the city attorney gives its stamp of approval, we are good to go on moving forward. We just need that approval from the city attorney in order to get, into the next steps. But it is no longer with the city clerk. So we're past that process. I know it was going back and forth just because of the revisions that were coming back from the city attorney to the city clerk's office, but now it's in its final stages. So we should be getting an update from the city attorney's office, hopefully very soon. I'll check in with them in the upcoming week.
It's been moving for years. Thank you so much.
I know it's been tough for you guys. I'm sure it's been stuck in that process. I did also want to give an update on the village clock. I know that that's also been a concern for the community. I did talk to Ryan from Toluca Lake Beautification Partners, and he sent me the information of who he had previously worked with in the departments and the plans for the clock tower. I sent an email following up with the departments, and I'm hoping that we can get that ball rolling ASAP. I don't see that it's going to be an issue or anything like that. I think it just got stuck somewhere in BOE, but we're definitely moving forward with that as well. And then lastly, with the Cahuenga and Addison lot, I know that Toluca Lake Beautification Partners wanted to adopt that and turn it into like a native planting area for the community. We're moving forward on that as well. That's also going through the process with General Services Division, and I'm working with Ryan on that as well. So hopefully all of these projects by the end of the summer will have a resolution. I know a lot of departments and a lot of staff members will be taking vacations and things like that. So I want to give ample time to be able to, finalize everything on the city side. And that way, by the time it gets back to the community, you guys have everything put together to be able to finalize it all on your end as well. Other than that, I know some of you maybe have seen the Vineland medians and the work that's been done there on that stretch of Vineland down to from Riverside towards I believe Magnolia, towards that direction. And we've been working on that with Streets LA. There has been some plantings that have happened and some hardscaping in the area as well. For that underpass as well, about 20% of the lights have been repaired. I know that some of the lights have been out for some time now due to COVID. So I'm happy to say that some of the lights have been repaired, and the contractor is working on finding the correct fixtures for the remainder of the lights because some of them are extremely old. And then there are some, conversion projects for LED lights that are happening down that stretch of Riverside Drive. So we're hoping to see a huge ton of improvements in the Toluca Lake area. And then working with, our community members on cleanups and other types of big projects that we're hoping to get through the pipeline. But if there's ever anything that the neighborhood council feels that the council office should be aware of, we're happy to assist in any way we can.
Thanks, Stephanie. And the 20% that has been fixed so far, does that include the Sarah and Vineland underpass?
Yes. Yes. Some of them have already been repaired. I think Tess can attest to that.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, good. That's been repaired. Great. Thank you so much. Any questions from the board or Tiffany? Hi, Tess.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for asking. That's been a very big problem area. So thank you, Tiffany, for helping to move that up. And what is the timeline, if you know, for the remainder of, well, for Riverside, Lancashire to round the curve there up to Camarillo? Do you know what the timeline is for that, Tiffany?
Well, I just reached out to the project manager because I wasn't exactly sure what they were planning on doing with the streetlights there. I just saw those holes in the asphalt with the traffic cones in them. And so I reached out and they said that it's the LED conversion project that they're working on.
Okay.
I did see a Kubota out there last weekend. So I think that they're in the process of, removing the old wires and things like that to be able to do the conversion.
Okay.
But I'm hoping that once I hear back from the project manager, I'll have an ETA on that. But definitely my understanding is it should already be starting now. So hopefully ending soon.
Yeah, it's definitely starting. Okay, very good. And thank you so much. One last thing, a member of our community filed about, 10 311 requests, all of which were closed, but with no explanation given. And I was going to include those in my next field report, but do you have any idea why that would be? They were all related to encampments on or around 4501 North Vineland and 11005 West Riverside.
So typically 311 pre-COVID was able to process encampment requests.
Okay.
Now, the way that they process those requests are once they are submitted, it generates that and sanitation becomes aware of the issue, but it's not like a 311 crew is automatically sent out. Now those types of requests go directly through the council office. And so since we've already submitted those requests, those are duplicates.
Okay.
They close them out because they're already existing requests.
I see. So they were closed out, not because they're being ignored, but because they're duplicates.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
My pleasure.
And by the way, thank you for all the fast work on the field reports. Tiffany, really good job. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I don't see any other hands up from the board, so I'll go to stakeholders. And I see Jonathan Gregory.
Wait, John. Yeah, Jonathan. Okay, go ahead. I didn't know if you saw Jonathan.
Hi, Tiffany. Hi, board members. Tiffany, would you mind if you just to tell, you don't need to tell in great minutia, great detail, a little more about the clock. What was it specifically that's hung up? Is it a permit? Is it a what is it that we're waiting for? And before I let go, I'll ask you my second question is, sure, if any board member knows the answer of this as well, just whatever takes the shortest amount of time. There were 2 NPG grants done for south of Riverside called the Vineland Median. And they were listed as West Toluca Lake, but that's not really West Toluca Lake. But it was, one was just under $5,000 and one was for $2,300 or $2,400 having to do with landscaping the median. Does someone, or Tiffany, do you know if that was actually, there's a completion of those 2 projects or 1 project, depending on how you look at it? So those 2 questions. Thanks.
Sure. So to the first question, the clock tower, the reason that they were held up is because of the Bureau of Engineering. There were some retirements and some staff turnover, and I think somewhere along those lines, it maybe got lost in the process there. But we have reached out to the Office of Community Beautification and BOE to see the status of that. I think Ryan had been previously following up on that, but it fell into my lap just through redistricting, and we finally figured out where it got stuck. And who to reach out to for that. So that's where we are for the clock tower.
Is it a document or permit?
It's a permit.
Okay, for installation, in other words.
Correct, yes.
Thanks.
And then for the Vineland medians, NPG grants are sent directly to the department. They don't go through the council office most of the time. We can definitely follow up on any NPG applications if you're aware of the application number or want to send them over to me to look at to see where they may have gotten stuck, but they go directly through the department. Some of them, I'm assuming, are the ones you're referring to that have been approved and that we're currently working on. And then to my understanding, Studio City Beautification submitted NPGs for the opposite side of the underpass in the Studio City portion, and those were approved. But that's pretty much it on my end.
Thank you. Maybe a board member knows if this was
Jonathan,
done.
Ryan Altoon is here tonight, and as soon as we're done with news and announcements,
Got
he's
it.
gonna give a
Thanks.
presentation. You will get lots of information at that point.
Thank you, Tiffany, and thank you for all the work you do. And I'm glad you're a go-to person.
Thank you.
Moving along, I don't see any other hands raised for members of our city news announcements. So I'm apt to go on to our Toluca Lake Beautification Partners presentation by Ryan Altoon. Let me bring up Ryan. He's waiting patiently.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes.
There you are. And I'm gonna.
I don't think I can share my screen.
Yes, I'm gonna.
So
But I
you
can't-
don't
I
have to
can't-
make him co-host. You can just allow panelists to share, which I've just done. So once Ryan is a panelist.
There we go.
I'm sorry.
Join as a panelist.
Yes, I'll make him a. Hold on. My internet connection is not as strong tonight as usual. Amazing.
Oh, Arthur just arrived. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, 7:44. I'm gonna make a note of that.
Can you guys hear me now?
I can't. I'm having trouble. My internet's a little unstable right now. Let's see. So co-host.
He does not need to be made co-host.
How do I give him?
He can screen share.
already-
I turned
Yeah,
it
I can
on so
screen
he
share.
can screen share.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, he's
yeah.
power.
May I?
All right, take it away, Ryan.
May I make a point of order, Colby, before we start with the presentation? I think I'd like to give the neighborhood council board members who are subject to the conflict of interest requirements an opportunity to recuse themselves now.
We're not voting on
We're not voting on
anything.
anything. Jeff.
Not voting on anything.
We're just.
But it's not just voting, it's discussion. Discussion.
I don't know if that's true. Erica, is that true?
They're non-voting board members, advisory board members.
Discussion, and the board members who have a conflict of interest should not be participating.
Okay, I'm a non-voting board member of the Toluca Lake Beautification Partner.
As am I. Yeah.
Yes, I am as well.
And so is Robin. Should we leave the meeting? Erica?
Yeah, so what happens is if you all can just turn off your cameras and mute yourselves, and so as soon as we're done with this discussion, then we can bring you all back.
Okay.
Okay, Robin, I'll take over minutes, or I guess Colby, am I taking over sharing? So at 7:45, Robin, Colby, Ren, and Susanna all recuse themselves due to conflict of interest as non-voting board members of the Toluca Lake Beautification Partners.
Okay, can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So let me go kind of in reverse order here because of the information I was hearing tonight. First of all, Tiffany, thank you very much for the help that we had with BOE. I actually got a call today. So this is the first call in many, many months from the department. I got a effusive apology from the department, the person in charge. Apparently he had taken some personal time off, personal leave, because his father was in peril of passing away. And so the department let him take some time, and then it slipped through the cracks, and we found ourselves where we are today. The question of where do we sit in the process? Yes, we're waiting for a permit. This is a funded project, and we're sitting right here. So we're in step 2, step 2 of 8, unfortunately. The good news is, if this is a glass is half full, is that the balance of the steps are fairly rote. So once BOE, the Bureau of Engineering, approves the final documentation, and that goes to simply a staff report, goes to the board, it gets approved, issue a permit, they do a site visit, and you can start your project. So we are highly encouraged that we can begin in earnest on this project that's been sitting fallow for a long time. But as Tiffany mentioned, there's been a lot of staff turnover. There's quite literally one person in the department who's responsible for the adopt a median process. His name is Jerry Valedo, and he administers every project in the city of LA. So you can imagine the fire hose that he's drinking from, and how quickly they can move through something. And if I can give you one analog, just look at how long it's taken to get the contract from the city of LA for the WRT underpass. And this is a contract that's furnished by the city of LA that they've signed previously with the same consultant, with the same neighborhood council for the same area, and took them over a year, almost 2 years. So this is unfortunately the environment in which we find ourselves, but we try to move as quickly as we can and very much appreciate CD2's assistance to move that forward. So tonight, what I'd like to do is walk you through, I'm very excited about this, the Riverside Drive, a draft concept streetscape plan. Many of you should be aware of this. This was a very thorough process we've been undertaking for many years in our community. This is the third round of streetscape planning that's occurred. And I'll just simply walk you through this document. This will be part of the public record, so we'll be submitting this as well. And I will say that the notion is that we've received all comments, say within the next 30 days, it would be ideal, from the neighborhood council and the community. And we're gonna be doing meetings as well with the other community groups in addition to this. So we can then collect all the information, make any final adjustments, codify this into a final plan, and then we'll be submitting this to the city of LA to be incorporated in the community plan update. So let me just walk you through this, and it's not meant to be reading this chapter and verse again, so you'll have this as a copy, but I want to get you familiar with the process and what's undertaken since we began. So, okay, here we go. So introduction, and first I'm going to ask, is this screen big enough for everyone to see? Or should I make it bigger? Any thoughts? We're good?
Looks good to me.
It works. Okay, then keep going. Okay, so again, intro in terms of our community, where it's located, the sensitivity to that, the potential of our community, but also things that are very important to preserving and maintaining and growing as a walkable community. There was a proposed purpose of this project to go through the final conclusion of what started in 2012. And again, in 2014, from myriad process, I think there's been over 65 documented public meetings that have been held through the neighborhood council alone, let alone countless surveys. One survey had over 1,000 participants in it. A second survey had 500 just only property owners that were involved. And most recently, the third survey that we sent out had over 450 participants as part of that. This is all about how we develop a vital business corridor while promoting a safe, healthy, friendly, and welcoming environment, and celebrating our cultural heritage and diversity. So this goes into a bit of what is a conceptual streetscape plan, just to educate folks to get familiar with the vernacular. Just sorry, this again, okay. And this talks a bit about the community process, the outreach. So as again, I mentioned the survey was conducted in the fall of 2021. There were also several stakeholder meetings that many of you participated in multiple times, which was great. Everyone had an opportunity to come back and ask more questions, which is exactly what this process is meant to be, open and inclusive. You see the stakeholder meetings that were listed below with the Garden Club, Neighborhood Council, Homeowners Association, Chamber of Commerce, and then a separate one with civic leaders and major stakeholders in the area, including our educational institutions, to come together through this process and create a streetscape plan. And I'm feeling like this is small, so I'm going to make this a little bit bigger to use my hand to scroll through. So this is the project area. This was in concert again with the city of LA. So you had planning, building and safety, DOT, Bureau of Street Services, urban forestry, and the list goes on to make sure that this is holistic in its approach. So really understand the benefits of this area. The area in question is from Sankola or Wells Fargo. You can see my cursor moving, hopefully, and Clybourne, the center line of Clybourne, which is where the city of LA boundary is, which is where Patty's is located. So generally bounded between those two areas. So it's these 4 blocks that were being studied. So we start going through design concepts and elements. Again, this came through a series of principles that were outlined from the outset. Excuse me. The first is to ensure a safe and comfortable place. Second, to foster easy and efficient access for pedestrians and transit users. Third, create a memorable street and vibrant social destination. 4, enhance and beautify the corridor. And 5th, to support economic development and private investment. Let's get into this a bit more. So this is a study diagram of the opportunities of the area. And I'm going to make this bigger because I can just tell this feels too small to me as well. Shows what can happen in this area. So again, this is Sankola here. So we're talking about a potential new signal at this intersection for safety and with a crosswalk. You see the legend that's down here. So you'll start seeing the vernacular of street furniture, controlled crosswalks, gateway elements, public art, opportunities for public art. So injecting culture into the area. Landscape medians, plaza space, you'll see on the other slide. One could even do parklets if one so desired. Not saying it's a mandate, but it just shows the opportunity for that. And bulb outs. And I'll be showing images of what these look like in a moment. This is the second half of the block area that was being studied. Again, the same legend that pertains. This is the plaza area, as we mentioned earlier. And these are the bulb outs that come out and address the corners. Excuse me. So this is an illustrative version of what one of those blocks could look like. This has, I'm going to zoom in a bit, sorry. So it has enhanced paving and bulb outs, new street furniture or enhanced street furniture beyond what's there today, a landscape median, new pedestrian crossing at the minor crossings, so different types of treatment, something called bulb outs. So if you notice, there's a code requirement for 20 feet on either side of a curved radius of a corner. It's striped red. And so what the city allows you to do is to actually inject what's called a bulb out. It's actually extending the curb line out. What does that do? It creates a nice moment for pedestrians to enjoy this area along the corners. It also shortens the distance between the street to make it safer. And by virtue of that, actually slows down the traffic as well. So it's a traffic calming mechanism that's used in a lot of places. Okay, keep going here. This is what a section could look like, a cross section of the street with the median. And if one wanted various elements, it shows them all integrated here, dimensioned out. This is a concept image of what could be. So this is the plaza area that shows how it's extended out more with the gateway elements that could come into the area. That's landscape median, new trees, crosswalk treatment, mural programs, and so forth that could come into play. So what are the design elements that we have? And I'll go into each of these in the subsequent slides. So I won't read all this right here. You'll see each one in a moment. So the first one has to do with sidewalk improvements. So street furniture. So again, I won't be reading this chapter and verse, but you can see from the imagery, we're looking at something that has more homage to a bit of the past, but a bit of the future. So something in between. That's what most people were settling on from the many survey recipients and focus groups that we found. The addition of pedestrian lighting beyond just the street cobra lighting we have today for pedestrian comfort and safety. Varying uses. This is actually an illustration. This is not what the sidewalk looks like today, but could look like. Or ingratiating the corners for more plaza treatment. Types of street trees one might have. Again, not to cover up the signage, but to be sensitive to retailers in the area to make sure they have full visibility. But also have a canopy, so it reduces the heat island effect for sustainability and for thermal comfort and so forth. And also have drought tolerant plants and so forth for the area that are native to Los Angeles, with this being the plant palette, one version of that. All these things are drought tolerant and native to California, so they require low water usage. How one might treat the crosswalks. Again, just beyond the ladder crosswalks we have today, having opportunities for injecting branding of the area and so forth. And these are what bulb outs can look like. So they actually protect the cars. So it's a safe parking area. It also creates safer passage for pedestrians. You can also inject liveliness, like landscaping into the area too, where it's fairly devoid of it at the moment. And medians, how they can be landscaped again with native plants and treatment to provide color and opportunity for gateway elements, which lead into gateway elements, which can be any manner of thing. None of these specifically, but just showing everything from something whimsical to something fairly rote or more pronounced or more subtle. It could be any of those moments that could be injected into the street to announce the corridor. And then public art, how it can find its way into in and out of the areas here, either on the sidewalk or in the paving, just opportunities for special moments to create place. And the types of plaza spaces or parklets that one might have. Again, there's not a lot of those opportunities within Toluca Lake. So to be able to find those areas that are suitable and accepted not only by the city, but also work programmatically, I think would look nice in the area. Parkless is an optional thing. We already saw Creation had one for a moment during COVID. Just shows that the plan can accommodate such moments if one so desired. And the plan concludes. And so it's been a large body of work from a whole host of folks. Too many to thank at the moment, but everyone has truly been in on this process, which has been fantastic, and appreciate everyone's time for us to be able to present this tonight. So let me pause there, and I'm sure there are questions, so happy to entertain those. Now, if I should continue sharing or the screen or not, but I'll keep it
I
here.
think it might be easier if we take off the screen share for a moment.
Okay, happy to.
We'll go to the board. If there are any questions from the board first. Hearing none, seeing none. Or, oh, Tess, sorry.
Tess and Kevin.
Tess, go ahead.
Hi, Ryan. You're really good at PowerPoints. So a couple questions. They were actually answered earlier, but I think I have never objected to beautification. I'm only concerned, well, I'm concerned about spending where there are such limited funds and concentrating too much in one area. And, you know, that's a matter that we can discuss. But I want to point out that since 2019, the Greater Toluca Lake Neighborhood Council has given an average of $88,300 per year to Toluca Lake Beautification Partners, which is now more than 25% of our annual budget. So these projects, as you know, have been earmarked for streetscape planning, the clock tower, and the Vineland median. So I just want the board here and members of the public to know that that money is going, a fair amount of our budget is going each year to Toluca Lake Beautification Partners. I'm very interested to see a budget that you promised me at our October 27th MIG meeting. This was a stakeholder meeting with Greater Toluca Lake Neighborhood Council. At that time, you mentioned that there was a $30,000 for streetscape and $20,000 contributed by Toluca Lake Beautification Partners. This was approved pre-COVID. I don't think you ever sent that to me. Did I miss it?
No, I don't believe you did. We did actually have that in our presentation to the Greater Toluca Lake Neighborhood Council board previously. I know our budget is public matter because we're under the umbrella of community partners, but that's all been public record for a long time. But let me address your earlier comment, if I may. Everybody who serves on Toluca Lake Beautification Partners is a volunteer. There's no staff. Our costs are incredibly lean. I think as I've shown, it's on the record, it's recorded. I think we have a 1%, 1.25% expense. It's essentially at Zoom and Gmail. It's fairly minimal. And so everything is truly going back into the public realm. So we pay for the trash maintenance on Riverside Drive. We did the Cuenca on and off ramps. We did the Riverside Drive median improvement. We repaired concrete paving on Riverside Drive when it was broken up. We installed the vegetable beds at Toluca Lake Elementary and so forth. So yes, projects in the public realm and construction are more costly than other items, but they are lasting objects that stay and have a meaningful impact to those in the area. And that's what we promote and inject. And the reason why we do it too, Tess, is that as a nonprofit, we have the fortunate ability as one of the only other means, you know, outside of a municipality to pursue state and federal and regional grants. So we can apply for those things. So we talk about the limited funds. We're able to use the limited funds we have strategically and tactically so that we can identify a plan, identify a budget, find funding partners, then get the plan implemented. So for instance, the streetscape plan that we're focusing on Riverside Drive, which is part one, we'll have one on Lancashire Boulevard as well, which we can talk about in a moment, which we've also done a lot of comprehensive planning on. We're waiting for the third round on that. And it's a fairly long segment. The reason why it's timely to do it now is because the city is going through the community plan update. The community plan update is a comprehensive zoning analysis and update for our area, which includes an environmental impact report. If we waited and didn't do it and did it outside of the community plan update, we'd have to pay for a standalone environmental impact report, which is several $100,000. So we're actually being able to leverage an open community process. The city of LA has funded dedicated funds towards and is implementing in concert with the city the streetscape plan to get it implemented. What that means is that it'll make it shovel ready because it's not designing a bridge. It's a collection of elements. There's over 65 elements in the public right of way. So we can fund a trash can, or we can fund several. We can do some trees, we can do some. So we can do it as a kit of parts over time. This is one example of many that we can do in and around our community. So what we're doing is leveraging the effect since 2012, really, in our community to get this measure completed so that we can enact it moving forward. So it's really an opportunity moment for us all.
Is it not true, Ryan, that this project is still subject to the preparation of an EIR, still subject to an environmental review? That can't be avoided.
No, it's not being avoided. So it's being folded into the EIR that they're already doing. So the environmental impact report that they're doing for our area will include our streetscape plan as part of that analysis. We're bridging off of that. We're leveraging that city process.
Well, I don't know that that's exactly saving us money, because it would be already.
Tess, we need to move on with other folks as well. Kevin, go ahead.
Hey, Ryan, thank you for that presentation. So what exactly, I think you may have answered this question, but so what exactly is standing in the way of this being implemented? And how long will it take to actually see this become a reality?
You mean the streetscape plan?
Correct.
I'd say really nothing's standing in the way of getting it done. I mean, now we're at the final stages of getting input from the community on the plan itself. We'll then prepare a final plan and submit it to the city planning department and ask that it be folded into the community plan process.
And I guess, assuming everybody has input, why wouldn't we want something like this? I mean, it looks pretty great to me. It makes the neighborhood look better.
Yeah, no, that's been the resounding response we've had from folks for years, a decade essentially, on this project, from myriad folks in multiple stakeholder groups. In conjunction, we did Lankershim Boulevard years ago. We actually shared jurisdiction between Studio City Neighborhood Council, and they were part of our process and engaged their stakeholders, and they were ardent fans of what we were working on together, because it wasn't our plan, it's the community's plan. We're effectively just convening a place for not only them to get together, but for the city to deem it be a bona fide process with consultants that they can also bona fide and make sure that the process is being done accurately and correctly, with a massive public record in terms of those being engaged through and throughout, so that voice is coming to the table. Typically what happens, just to give you perspective, as a city, if they find money, they will go through a process on their own and devise a plan and go through a public process, much like we've convened. So what they've noticed is that we're actually doing something very akin to what they do, which is why they've been highly supportive since day one. And all the departments, again, have come out consistently and thanked us in the process, because this is exactly the process they'd be going through as a city. And so that's why they're open to the idea of folding this into the community plan and getting
one last quick question. Have there been any other concepts or ideas? I know, for example, I know that Tess lives in West Toluca and some of the other surrounding neighborhoods. Have there been any other creative ideas in terms of beautifying those other areas around Toluca Lake?
Oh, sure. When I was in the neighborhood council, we started the sense of council projects. Instead of just being the collector of complaints and handing it to the city, we said, well, why don't we try to advance these things going forward? So one example is the count of the Coinga Addison lot, which has laid fallow for years and has been a dumping ground for a long time. And that has its own saga that's been taking forever and a day, but I think we're just about there as well, thankfully. That's going to beautify that corner that's been long blighted. And I know one of our board members as well championed the signal at that location. And so, we've been making our overtures and efforts. We haven't let it go. I think we're still waiting for city staff to have time to revise the lease agreement for us to start that project and get it going. But yeah, we've been looking at a lot of areas for a long time.
Okay. Lee, it looks like you have your hand up. If you dial, actually, go ahead. I think you're unmuted. Yeah.
I just have a question for Ryan. Ryan, remember my project of the street lights for the overhangs for Christmas on Riverside? Well, how's the status on the poles being able to support that?
That would be part of the streetscape, Lee. So the design of the infrastructure around that area would be able to carry the festoon lighting you're talking about.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
I have a follow-up question, please.
Yes, you've already spoken. We need to give the public a moment.
Catherine, I would like to have a follow-up question if you don't mind. So, Ryan, you applied for the Mayor Great Street grants in 2019. Was that forthcoming?
I'm sorry, was it what?
You
Forthcoming?
Did you applied for the Mayor Great Street grants for the Riverside Drive streetscape improvements in 2019? I was just reviewing some old minutes. Were you able
correct.
to get it?
We did not get it. We weren't awarded that, no.
Okay, I would still love to see that budget if you don't mind.
Okay, Tess, we're gonna move on to the public.
Catherine, but I would love to get it from Ryan if you don't mind. Okay.
Tess, thank you. We're gonna move on to the public. Jonathan, see your hand is up. Go ahead.
Hi, Ryan. Thank you very much. Ryan, if you don't mind, I would like to ask all my questions so you'll hear what they are. And then as you talk, it'll save time because maybe that way you'll have a way of grouping it together. But I'll go back and help you if you forget. So, don't worry about it. I'm
getting ready here.
Okay. Here's my having to do with miles per hour. I'm not an urban studier, but I have been reading the lower the miles per hour in an area of that, the more successful the businesses and the safer they are. So I'm wondering, in that 4-block area, what is the current posted miles per hour now, and what would it be planned as afterwards? But also in the blocks that go outside of the 4, like Tess was saying, it's not, you can't just do a 4-block renovation and do nothing at all next to it. So how does that, what happens with miles per hour in the 4 blocks and in the area around it? The next question is, can I go ahead?
Yeah, keep going. So
all right, next question.
Apologies for the interference.
That's okay. Next question would have to do with bicycles. I know that the people generally don't want bike lanes, but it doesn't mean the bikes won't be coming through. So will there be cutouts in the bulb outs for bikes to go through, or will the bikes be forced into traffic? In other words, how do bikes get addressed? Because they're going to be there whether they're accommodated or not. The next question is, how does this fit into the transit-oriented community plan? Meaning, I'm looking to understand the consistencies of all of the things I've picked up in the many months of being present in the neighborhood council. So we have a transit-oriented community plan or grant, I should. In any case, how does this fit in? And further to that is, I picked up in fleeting in one meeting something about Riverside Drive being labeled, categorized by Caltrans as an I-134 alternate in emergencies or something. How does that get addressed or fold into this plan too? And then, Tess you already talked a little about the community development plan, how this folds into it. Do you lose any control when that happens? Do they take over anything? Is there an advantage or is there a disadvantage? This all kind of came up in committee meetings and nobody really knew. Where is the closest bus stop? And is it inviting for people on buses to come and like shop at Trader Joe's and stuff like that? So is it inviting to people outside of the immediate neighborhood too? The last thing is really important, is I understand you have some expertise in this sort of planning. Maybe you could take a look at with us in the future, those underpasses, because truly what goes on in the underpasses is a much bigger deal than anything else in the community. And I've talked to Colby and sent him things going on in Northern California, although they're really expensive. Maybe there's some ideas we could work on together. Thank you. Those are my questions.
That's great. Okay, I wrote all those down, so I'm gonna try not to talk like an auctioneer, but I'm gonna get through this because I know you have a big agenda. So, okay. First of all, medians and bulb outs slow traffic. So it's a traffic calming mechanism, right? So we can't alter the posted speed limit there. Let's go back to your 134 secondary highway component. So if the 134 freeway gets bottled up, these Riverside. So I think we're at posted speed, I think is at 40, if not 35, I think it's at 40. Regardless of that, the speed doesn't change. They will slow down regardless because of the new items that are in the public right of way. That's also a reason for talking about injecting a median on either side of the bookend to slow people on the approach. So it's not just right when you enter the area, but it's on the approach to come in as well. The bike lanes, regarding bulb outs, the bulb outs are there just to protect the parking lane. So the parking lane, unless you had a cycle track that was dedicated inside of the sidewalk, so sidewalk, cycle track, and then a parked car, which we don't have room for. We don't have that classification for the street dimension. Really, the bulb out here is just to protect the parked car. So the bike lane would always be on the other side of between the drive aisle. If you guys can see what I'm doing here, in the drive aisle and the parked car, and there's space for that today. So just understand that we were always mindful of the complete streets guide and what the mobility plan says and what they're looking for, so it does accommodate that. This is not part of TOC. If I'm reading that correctly, I may have had that wrong, so we can come back to that. The community plan process, but what we're doing right now gives us full control over that aspect, whereas before, effectively, we'd be reacting just to an outside city construct and then just reacting to it. This actually has the voice of the community for the path of the decade to say, is this something we're interested in? Is it feasible? What's important to us? What do we want to make sure is preserved? What do we want to see enhanced so we can have a comprehensive area that's inclusive for all parties involved? So this is the best process because it is 100% community driven in that sense, as opposed to reacting to kind of outside element, which does have, I think we've got 4 bus locations within Toluca Lake. They kind of bookend the area. One's by the Wells Fargo and Sweet Salt area on that block, and the other one's by the other Wells Fargo, or yeah, used to be a Wells Fargo, and the Riverside restaurant. And the underpass safety, totally agree. Those have been projects we've been looking at for a very long time as well. When I was council president, chair of planning, we actually initiated the 134 Foreman Underpass study. I think we've actually, most recently, we're looking at another state grant for the underpasses all the way to Vineland and to Lancashire and other areas. And we're still exploring those as well and talking to the city about how we might partner together on how we improve the lighting, improve the safety, improve the viability for those pedestrian corridors to be maintained and enhanced. So hopefully I answered all your questions.
Thank you very much.
All right, great. We're going to go to one last member of the public. So Beverly, go ahead.
Hi, I'm so sorry. My puppy just started barking. The parking, are we concerned
No
about
problem.
the less parking for the area?
This does not remove parking from the area, and I believe the 134 underpass project, if it's able to move forward, would add 17 additional public parking spaces on street.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you. And Matt, I see you get the very last final question.
Ooh, no, I don't have a question. I just have a statement. Ryan, you're awesome. Thank you so much. I know it's an enormous amount of work to put that together. It looks amazing. So anything I can do to help support it, I'm in. So I really appreciate your help.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Happy to help.
All right. Thank you so much, Ryan. I am going to invite Colby, Robin, Ren, and Susanna back. So we'll give them a moment to sign back on.
I'm back.
Welcome back, everybody, at 8:16.
And Ren, oh yeah, you're there. Okay. And what time is it? 8:16. Great.
All right. Thank you so much, Ryan.
All right.
Bye-bye, Ryan. Thank you.
We are going to move on to
exec committee.
Committee reports. So exec is first. Go ahead.
Yes, and this is a fairly large one. Tonight we will be voting upon 2 nominees, 2 candidates to fill the 2 vacant spots upon our general board. Before I move forward, I've been asked we received 11 applicants, which is tremendous, a tremendous turnout. A lot of that was due to the website. A lot of that was due to Catherine's work in outreach with the website and making it easy for people to apply, or stakeholders to apply to this position. So we had 11, which was again, I didn't expect to have so many people request to join our board, but it was, I think, a great kind of a feather in our cap to say that all the people wanted to join our board, which is we actually only have 16 spots total and 11 people wanted to join. So some people have asked me if they want to run down the names of the total applicants who've gone through. I'm not going to read all their candidate statements. I'm just going to read the names of the applicants. And I'm very thankful. I did speak with every applicant over the phone and get to know them. And they're all very hardworking, brilliant, and they had each of them had a lot to offer. And I would encourage even the ones who aren't ultimately elected to the board to please continue on attending our meetings. And if you'd like to request to join a committee, and we love your input and your support. We had Paul Hartel. We had Rudy Agato, Aguado the third. I'm sorry if I'm butchering these names. Louis Salashi, Schillace, Beverly Hartley, Lance Williams, Frank Katota, Nancy Gomez, Stacy Roberts, and Brandon Whalen, and also the two Jonathan. And that brings me to motion B, to approve Shannon Hartman to fill the vacant board seat number 1. And I think you've all received Shannon's candidate statement.
And Colby, should we give the two candidates a moment to speak on behalf?
I'm not there yet. Yes, definitely, that will happen. If anyone would like me to read their candidate statement briefly, I'm happy to.
Everyone should have received it.
You should have received it before this meeting, and I prefer not to take up time doing so and just go right into the candidates speaking for themselves.
So why don't we start with Shannon Hartman? Can you give her permission to speak and she can introduce herself?
Yes.
So should we first read
the motion first, open this up, right?
Well, how do we vote if the board has not heard them speak?
Again, we need to open the motion.
Yeah, we have to open it, we have to ask, we have to, so.
To open
be approved,
discussion.
Shannon. I'm sorry, open. Let's see, we should do.
Okay, so motion B to approve Shannon Hartman to fill vacant board seat number 1. Do I have a first?
First?
Yeah. Robin? Do I have a second?
Robin. And a second, please.
Ren?
Thank you, Ren. Discussion, and she can say hello.
I think what we'll do is I prefer Shannon to go to introduce herself at this time, and then we'll go back and forth with discussion.
And Colby, do we have the capability to allow them to show themselves if they're able to, so that the board can actually see the face?
Oh, certainly they can come on camera, and I would encourage them to come on camera. Erica, please chime in if we're going off the rails here at all. But I'd like Shannon to come on and introduce herself, and we'll go from there. Let me ask Shannon to speak. Hi, Shannon, can you hear me? Mute.
Shannon, you'll need to unmute and see if you can turn on your camera if you have one.
Thank you. Let me see here.
Hi, Shannon, are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can
Yes,
hear
we
you.
hear you.
We can't see you.
Great. I just want to quick introduction. Shannon is the president of the Toluca Lake Chamber of Commerce, and as you said in her bio and her candidate statement, she owns Priscilla's Coffee Shop also.
There we go. There's Shannon.
Sorry, I'm so bad on Zoom, so bear with me. I'm getting better though.
Good. There you are.
Thank you so much
Shannon, go ahead and please tell us a little about yourself, and then we'll go into a discussion.
Okay, well, first of all, it's a privilege and an honor to be here, and hopefully my lighting's okay. We just came from the Toluca Lake Chamber meeting. So I've had my business in Toluca Lake, Burbank for 34 years, and I was a president in 2001 of the Chamber of Commerce, and now I'm the president of the Chamber in 2021, and then this year, 2022. And I'm honored if I am chosen to be on the board, because I think having a say in the business community is such a big deal for the Greater Toluca Lake Council. I represent not every business. So there are businesses that might feel one way about something. We don't always agree, but we do need to have a voice here, and it really helps. And I've lived in the Valley all of my life, and my parents have, and everything. So I'm very familiar with how things change and I like to go forward, but at the same time, I kind of do like the old village feel that we have too. So I think I'm pretty good at working with everybody, and that's my goal. And side note is we do this last year and a half, we've done this monthly cleanup of Riverside Drive and Lancashire. We've done Lancashire, and we combine the garden club with the chamber and the homeowners. So my goal, if I'm on the council, would be, be part of that bridging of everybody together and be just another say from the business community standpoint. And I think we all pretty much want the same thing for our community. And I'm very easy to work with. So I'm privileged to be here. So thank you.
Well, I think you're one of the reasons I chose you is you have such a long-term standing in the community. You get your hands dirty consistently. You have proven leadership ability. Let me go start taking some questions. I saw Catherine's hand go up first. Hi, Catherine.
Hi. Yeah, I just have a quick question. As president of the chamber, is there going to be someone else that would be able to act as sort of the community liaison that participates sometimes in these meetings at the beginning, just to avoid any sort of appearance of a conflict? Obviously, ethically, I know we don't go through ethics training here, but just to make sure that it doesn't appear that someone has outsized influence.
Absolutely. So what you would need would be somebody else from our chamber board. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. If there could be someone else designated.
Oh, absolutely. And maybe what it would make sense would be for I don't know if Eric's still on here, but he's our incoming he's our vice president. He'll be the incoming president for 2023. And I'm guessing he would be probably the best person to choose, considering that he's, going to be the person taking things on. Or we have a great board. So I'm sure whoever. Yes.
Great.
Robin? Hi, Robin.
All right. Hello.
Hey, Robin.
I just want to say that I've known and worked with Shannon for many years in all sorts of community projects. And I find her to be incredibly positive and constructive and helpful. And it's been a pleasure working with her over the years. And I would be delighted to see her as a member of our board.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board? If not, we'll move to stakeholders. The questions and comments. First hand. Seeing none, hearing none, I say we move forward to a vote.
A hand went up.
Oh, a hand. Okay, Beverly. Yes. Hi, Beverly. Please unmute, Beverly.
Oh, darn it. I just wanted this whole thing. I didn't know I was muted. I was going to say, love Shannon. She's perfect. I'm so glad you chose her. I think she's just a gem. She's lovely. Yay.
Thank you, Beverly.
You're welcome.
We think you're great too, Beverly.
Thank you. Thank you.
I see Ramba Bean.
Okay, yes. All I want to say is this is a great nomination. You couldn't do better. You just couldn't do better.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Ron. Any other comments from the board, going once, or stakeholders, going once, going twice? If not, we're going to take this to a vote. We have a lot more ahead of us.
All right. So I'm going to,
okay, Robin, let's take this away.
going to call your name. Please state yes or no to motion B to approve Shannon Hartman to fill the vacant board seat number 1. Catherine, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Arthur?
Yes.
Robin, I'm a yes. Ren?
Yes.
Fred?
I abstain.
Okay. Matt?
Yes.
Lee?
Affirmative.
Thank you. Susanna?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Tess?
Yes.
Thank you. Kevin?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
And Jake?
Yes.
Colby?
Yes.
Great. I have, looks like 1201. Let me just count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 1201.
Congratulations, Shannon. Great to have you aboard. I'm going to promote you to a panelist right
Congratulations. We're going to
now.
promote
Exactly.
you.
As of right now, you are a board member.
Yay. Do I stay on?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, you're on and you can now vote.
I have a question. Well, is Eric?
On matters that are not financial until you take your financial training.
But Catherine, maybe you can clear this up. She has not taken any of the trainings yet.
Well, Erica has her hand raised and I think she's going to chime in on this.
Okay, great.
Hi, Erica.
Thanks, Kobe. Yeah, you beat me to the punch. I was just going to say that Shannon can vote on non-funding items until she takes the ethics, code of conduct, and the funding trainings. Then she would be able to vote on funding items. But from here on out, she counts as quorum, but again, is not able to vote on funding items. And then just a quick note to the board, considering that we now have Shannon on board and we will have another new member, if the board can update their rosters and send it to rosters@EmpowerLA, so that way we can get them both set up for their trainings and Cornerstone.
Very good, very good. I think she's right now, Robin or Catherine, am I correct? Is she a panelist right now as we speak?
Yes.
She is already a panelist, yes.
Okay, very good. Okay.
And
very
so
good.
she can vote on anything that's not funding until she does her training.
Yeah. Okay, moving right along. Sorry, we're not going to bask in the glory right now. We're going to move on to
Yes,
number
yes,
2.
we love you, Shannon.
Thank you.
Okay, so
This
motion.
is motion C, approve Jonathan Gregory to fill a vacant board seat number 2. Do we have a first on this?
First, Tess.
Thank you, Tess.
Yes.
And a second.
Did I hear someone?
Sean.
John, all right. Good.
Thank you, Sean.
I'll open up discussion on this matter. I'll start discussion with Shannon.
Wait,
Yes,
go ahead.
Colby, I'm going to go ahead and make Jonathan a panelist so that he'll be able to speak as well, just like Shannon was able to.
Thank you. I open the discussion as with Shannon. Each of you received Jonathan's candidate statement. I won't have to read that. We can go into it later if you'd like to. And I've gotten to know Jonathan fairly well over the past year, and I've seen him as a very energetic and highly charged member of this community. He has stepped up and he spends a great amount of time and energy on this for us and on this committee, even though he has not been a member. But he has put in as much effort, as much or even more than many board members I've seen in the present and the past. And he's a long-term stakeholder in the community. And his views, he's mostly concerned about public safety, which I like a lot. And what I like about Jonathan is, he does the work, and he also pushes me, and he pushes other board members farther, and I like that. And without further ado, I'll have him speak on his own behalf and take questions and comments from the board and stakeholders. Welcome, Jonathan.
Thank you, Colby. Can you hear me? Because I clicked.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you all. I'd like to first start by appreciating what Tess did earlier in the meeting, and that was this attention toward disclosure. In the past year, I've come to recognize that government has to be watched, and we're part of it, all of us, stakeholders and you board members, and we have to submit. I think it's a great idea for transparency. And I would like to start just by saying I didn't know anyone on the board until a year ago, except Tess. She was my neighbor over there in West Toluca Lake years ago. I knew her, maybe I wouldn't say close, but over the last year, I've come to know all of you at some level just by being in all the meetings. And I've come to appreciate that it's, number one, a lot harder than I think almost anyone anticipates, and that government is being transferred down to the local level. And this is why I started showing up. It's raising the import of everything happening at the local level. And it's important that stakeholders' interests, as they call it, the varied stakeholder interests, get forwarded into the government, that they start to hear from us. I like Toluca Lake. I came here as a young guy. Now I'm not a young guy, but I'm appreciative for everything that's happened here for me and for the community. But that doesn't mean we can rest. There's major problems going on out there. And I saw LA falter in the 90s, and it got better after the riots, you recall. So it isn't an automatic that things can't turn around, but it is a tremendous amount of work. I am no expert on all of these subject matters, but I spend a lot of time reading and educating myself on what other people have to say about it and trying to leave my emotions out of it all. That's what I think I would like to bring to the board, is just the academics. There's an awful lot of research that goes into doing anything. And, it's just amazing to me how much, like just working with Caltrans, it takes a lot of time to understand the hierarchy and also all of the deception that's put in our way of owning our own community, like the SB9 stuff. And so in any case, I thank you all. I want you to know it's an arm's length transaction. I will continue to work no matter what you decide, because I just will. It's more about getting the community back on track than it is deriving anything from myself. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jonathan. I'll open that up to the board and then stakeholders to ask comments, provide comments and ask questions. I see, so I first saw Catherine. Hi, Catherine.
Hi. So I want to say that Jonathan was a very valuable participant throughout our process in redoing our bylaws. And I deeply appreciate him showing up to our meetings and listening to us talk through minutia of bylaws. They're not fun. I do have some level of concern regarding cooperativeness, mainly because I am concerned by some past accusations that have been levied regarding board member conflicts that were not valid, that those accusations were recurring despite being negated. So I do just have some concerns about cooperativeness.
Thank you, Catherine. Jonathan, do you have a comment regarding that, or do we just move on?
I think I'll pass on a comment. I don't think anything was appropriate. I always believe in transparency, and people should be willing to speak freely their beliefs and their reason, their logic.
Hi, Robin. Do you have a question or comment for Jonathan?
Yeah, I too appreciate the fact that Jonathan has shown major dedication to attend as many meetings as he has. It certainly has given us all a lot more thought to go into each meeting, because we've got to be on our toes because Jonathan's at the meeting, and I find that to be a good thing at times. But at other times, I do find there's a lot of back and forth. I mean, he's very polite, but also very he calls people out. And the years that I've been on the board, you will always find people that you disagree with, and I can appreciate somebody else's opinion, but we all try to be very considerate of each other. And so I have two concerns. One, that you're going to be able to get along with the people on this board, because as you've seen throughout the year, we've all learned to work together. And my other concern is when we go back to in-person meetings, I hope, I have been told that you do not live in Los Angeles, in Toluca Lake, that you have property here. Would you be able to attend all of these meetings in person, or would you have to miss some? So I'm curious how that's going to go going forward.
Time for me to answer?
Sure.
Okay. I used to go to LA once a week. I was enrolled at the American Jewish University there in Mulholland. So it's not new to me to go back and forth to LA. I don't adore using up our national gas reserves to run around unnecessarily right now because of the war. So I have thoughts about all of that kind of stuff. But here the question is, what is our goal? And I really would like to see the neighborhood council. I've been the nudge. You're right. I've been the nudge, taking it to a level having to do with governance and stuff like that. Stuff because stakeholders are very worried about their well-being. And it used to be more of, we didn't used to have these kind of problems. It used to be different. And someone has to move things along. And I never thought I would be here, doing this. Believe me, I really never thought it would be this way. But in the past year, I've learned to actually, the word is respect each of you at different levels, meaning people come with different resources, different attitudes, different whatever. And as long as I see people are dedicated to the cause and not being deceptive, I'm really comfortable with whatever their opinions. I completely am. And I love the open discourse that we find in America, and I'm willing to preserve it. Meaning I take a step back when it's time for you to present your logic, and I want that same freedom to express logic and not be misled by deception. People should be willing to put down their information, just like Tess did earlier tonight. I was actually surprised that Erica asked so many of you to leave, because I get mixed up too sometimes what's appropriate and what isn't. I hope I answered it. Again, I'm not an expertise in all this stuff. I have no experience in working with a neighborhood council before this year.
Hi, Tess.
Let's see. Hi. So I support this nomination, Colby, and we have a very hardworking person here. Does it make people uncomfortable to be called out? Yes. It happens to me. It happens to all of us. I think as long as there's a level of professionalism and civility, that's important that we keep each other on our toes. As far as where he lives, you just heard that we're going to be doing Zoom hybrid meetings or some sort of hybrid, most likely. So I don't see that as an issue either way, especially since not everyone on this council lives in Toluca Lake already. So I would welcome somebody who does the work, who really does the work and shows up at every meeting, and frankly sort of goads me to do even more. So I welcome this, and I hope that Jonathan will join us.
Hi, Susanna. Are you muted?
I run a lot of meetings, and I actually run hybrid meetings too. And it sounds like the county is not going to be moving very fast on hybrid meetings. They do require a little bit of technology. So I hope we can get it up and running, especially if Jonathan doesn't have to drive, because I do agree we need to save gas. There's a war in Ukraine, and a lot of and we need to support that. But anyway, that was just a small comment. It didn't sound like that our local government here is moving as we also have seen with the beautification. They don't move very fast. That's a downside. Thank you.
Thanks, Susanna. And I'm asking from comments now from stakeholders. Thoughts from stakeholders. I see Ron Babini. Hi, Ron.
Hi. I'm a member of the Planning and Land Use Committee, and Jonathan has been at every meeting and has been a gadfly at almost every meeting. But I want to say that he has been tremendously helpful. We had one of the most productive meetings we've ever had last meeting, largely thanks to Jonathan's help as a stakeholder. from outside the committee. And before I knew that he was nominated to be a council member, I thought, Jonathan, why don't you join the Planning and Land Use Committee, which he may anyway, but I think this is a good nomination.
Thank you, Ron. I don't see any other comments or hands raised. I'd like to echo what a lot of people said tonight. I gotta say quickly that if you had asked me a year ago, or when I assumed with the presidency, or 9 months ago, that I'd be nominating Jonathan, I probably wouldn't believe it, to be honest with you. First, I felt it was difficult. However, the more I've gotten to know Jonathan, I realized that he's kind of a coach who inspires and pushes. And it's not always about who makes things easier. Sometimes it's about the people who make things not tougher on purpose, but tougher in order to achieve more. And to be honest with you, Jonathan, we might have longer, more in-depth meetings with Jonathan on the board. However, I feel that he's better for he is to reach out beyond our borders, and it does create more work for me and probably for some other people on the board if he were to come on. But I feel that it's worth it. So that's the last thought on Jonathan, and we can move to a vote if we're ready.
Okay. Motion C to approve Jonathan Gregory to fill vacant board seat number 2. Catherine, how do you vote?
Respectfully, no.
Okay. Arthur?
Yes.
I'm going to come back to me in a second. Ren?
Yes.
Fred?
I abstain.
Okay. Matt?
No.
I'm sorry?
No.
No. Lee?
Affirmative.
Yes. Susanna?
Yes.
Tess? Tess?
Yes.
Thank you. Kevin?
Abstain.
Sean?
Yes.
And Jake?
Yes.
And Shannon.
Yep, I gotta add her, so give me 1 second. I'm gonna put Shannon in a TBD space. Hold on. Okay, Shannon, how do you vote?
Unmute.
Let me help her out.
Yes.
Oh, I think that's a yes. You're still muted. I
Robin?
think that is a yes.
Yes, I got Shannon as a yes. Robin, I'm abstaining. And Colby?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to count now. Do I have everybody? Yes. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 yeses. 1, 2 noes. And 1, 2, 3 abstains. 9, 2, 3. Motion carries. Jonathan, welcome to the board.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Jonathan.
Thank you. And as I said, it's an arm's length thing. I almost wanted to run away from the computer so I didn't see anyone vote. So you know that it's a comfortable thing.
Very good, very good. As with Shannon, you're welcome to vote on motions tonight, except for financial matters.
Okay.
Until you take your training. Okay, we're gonna move on. We have a lot going on still. To Arthur and Treasurer.
Hey, Colby,
report.
Colby, I'm so
Unless
sorry.
we have more on Zach, hold on.
Yes,
More on
we
Zach?
have the installation of the executive board date, July. I
Yes.
think we touched on this,
That'll be July 19th.
July 19th.
I believe
Thank
that's off my head, but that's what I remember that being. Yes, and I want to make sure all board members, even the 2 newly elected ones, the way it works is July 19th, you're probably familiar, but the general board will vote amongst itself to elect the executive board, this year meaning president, vice president, treasurer, and secretary. And have we decided upon assistant secretary or that role? I don't think we're gonna do that, right? This
Not
time?
assistant secretary, it's, what did you call it, Catherine? It's a non-voting position, but we will talk about that at exec.
Or we can just not do that one, yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I encourage everybody on the board, if they have the inclination to run for whatever you want to run for. Anyway, it's a lot of fun.
Can I just say, Jonathan and Shannon, we are all here for you. If you have any questions, please feel free at any time to contact any of us. We're here to help. And both Jonathan and Shannon, there is a training. There are 3 trainings you'll do online. Doesn't take terribly long. And I just redid 2 of mine. So you need to do those. You have about a month to get them done. And then you'll be able to vote on funding matters. So, but again, we're all here to help. Erica's here from Dunn. Anything you need, and a lot of it is all online on the website under the, actually under Dunn.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Robin. I believe that.
Yeah, that concludes exec.
Exec.
We can move on.
Now we can move
the
forward
treasurer's report.
to the money. Arthur and the treasurer report. Hi, Arthur.
Okay, so let me share my screen. We have a motion, so
here, or
I can share, yeah. We have a
Good.
motion, and that motion is motion D, approve the May 2022 MERN expenditures for reconciliation submission to the city clerk. Do we have a first?
Catherine.
Catherine, a second?
I'll be the second. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. So let me just. So we had finished April with 21.7. In our last meeting, I said there was a rollover balance from the prior month of $7,400. And that increase from in the dark green bar is that rollover funds. We had operating expenses. We had our social media and marketing coordinator, 2 invoices for $750 and another one for $1,036.46. And then Google for $96 and then MailChimp for $28.99, giving us operating costs of $19.11. So we ended May at the 27.4. But that being said, we had several funding measures that we had approved as a board, and they were several that were approved during May, but were outstanding. So we had $6,000 to TYS that was approved and outstanding. We had our PALS NPG for $5,000. We had the American Cancer Society NPG for $5,000. We had the East Valley YMCA Youth in Government for $2,000. And then Rio Vista for $2,500, giving us an adjusted May balance of $6,500. These next 2 items I've listed as pending approval. I'm happy to share that today the city clerk did approve these. So the Garden Club NPG for $1,000 was approved, as well as the Toluca Lake Elementary PTA NPG, giving us an end of year balance of $2,500. And that is our anticipated rollover into the next fiscal year. So all of our NPGs that we had worked so hard to kind of get through the city clerk have been approved and funded. So do we have any questions?
That's great. Thank you.
I just want to say, Arthur, thank you so much. That was an extreme amount of work to get all of those NPGs looked at, approved, and funded. So thank you to the community and from the community for all your help.
Thank you.
Catherine has her hand raised. Yes, and I second that. It's incredible. I see Catherine has her hand raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up regarding the end of year balance and whether or not we've gotten official word on how much, if any, is going to be automatically rolled over.
So this year, the city clerk is not requiring us to do any sort of action or motion to roll over those funds. So that end of year balance of $2,500 will roll over to the new year and will be available partway into the new year. So maybe 4 to 6 months.
Okay, any other questions? All right, I don't see any. So motion D to approve the May 2022 MER and expenditures for reconciliation.
Tess has her hand raised.
Quick question. So, Arthur, forgive me if I missed a small part of this. Are we up to speed on TYS? They're paid and we're on solid ground again?
So I listed them as outstanding as of May. The city clerk has approved all their invoices and then paid them. Yes.
Okay.
So we are squared away with them.
We're squared away. Thank goodness. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move forward. Thanks, Arthur.
All right. So motion D to approve the May 2022 MER and expenditures for reconciliation submission to the city clerk. Catherine, how do you vote?
Yes.
Arthur?
Yes.
Robin, yes. Shannon, you're ineligible because it's funding. Ren?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Lee? Lee? Hello?
Muted?
There you go. Do you vote yes or no?
Okay, I'm sorry. Affirmative.
Thank you, Lee. Susanna?
Yes.
Jonathan is ineligible. Tess?
Yes.
Kevin? Kevin? Hello, Kevin. I'm going to go back to Kevin. Sean?
Yes.
Jake is ineligible. Colby?
Yes.
Kevin, are you there? Did Kevin drop off? Let me just take a look. Kevin, are you on mute? Kevin, calling Kevin.
Well, we can go forward, I think. We have enough. He doesn't respond.
I think he might have. Kevin, can you hear me? I see your name. You're just on mute.
Maybe in the restroom.
Maybe. What time is it? It's 9 o'clock. We're going to take a break in just a minute. Okay, I'm just going to put excused. Where am I? Kevin, one last try.
I'm here. I've been here the whole time. I couldn't find the screen when
Sorry, I knew you were there. Okay, how do you vote?
Yes.
Great. Motion carries with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 0, 3. Thank you, Arthur. Now we will go on to the budget, the submission of the new budget. So motion E, approve the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget for submission to the city clerk as presented to the city clerk. Do I have a first?
Yep.
Who was that?
Susanna.
Thank you, Susanna. Do I have a second?
Ren.
Thank you, Ren. Okay, Arthur, take it away.
Okay. So for the upcoming fiscal year going from June 2022 to July 2023, the neighborhood council budgets are going to total $32,000. That's the same amount that we had this previous fiscal year. And we, as a board, approve a budget, and we have several packets that we fill out with this as well for us to have access to our funds for the next fiscal year. So if we don't have a budget approved, then we have access to kind of like the bare minimum operating costs, email and MailChimp and so forth. So for this upcoming year, I asked the city clerk, what is the upcoming year going to look like? Should we have programming for, in-person events, or are we going to just, or should we have a budget where we had like a very NPG heavy budget like we did this past year? And so in-person events are going to be considered on a case-by-case basis. And so we have to, submit forms to have those in-person events, and they will approve or reject those on a case-by-case basis. So they didn't say we couldn't have in-person events, but I drafted this budget in hopes that we can work towards, more in-person events. And so of our $32,000 budget, we have our email hosting at our $96 run rate. We have $6,000 for TYS. Our marketing coordinator, social media admin at $11,400. And then we have, some amounts, $400 interspersed for supplies, public safety materials. We do have, I did put the Earth Day event in here at $7,000 and NPGs for the Toluca Lake Elementary and Rio Vista, as we've historically just have had NPGs for them. And then $3,000 in general NPGs. So that totals are $32,000. I also want to say that we are not beholden to this if we approve this. In the prior year, we had hoped that we would have in-person events, such as the Earth Day event. And as we all know, we kind of shifted gears and we approved a series of NPGs and allocated our funds that way. So this is how it was drafted, but we're not really beholden to it, and we can, adjust this as we see necessary. Yes, Robin?
Okay, so two questions on the budget. One, the Zoom that they're going to charge us for, the $200 licensing that we're going to have to pay for. Is that on this budget?
That is not specifically in this budget. So we'll have to.
You need to add that.
Yes.
And then the other thing is the Earth Day celebration. I've worked on that numerous times. I know it's a tremendous event. I would actually be the first one to encourage maybe starting a new tradition in Toluca Lake, maybe not this particular one because we were having a difficult time with restaurants, etc. But my question is, I know you have it on here as an Earth Day event. Could we call it something else, like an in-person event that maybe we can allot this money to and not earmark it as an Earth Day event? Actually call it something else if somebody wanted to take this project on.
Yes, that's definitely a possibility.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
I see Ren.
Ren?
Yes, I have two questions as well. First off, do we want a budget for the $2,500 that we're carrying forward? Just maybe put it into purpose grants, neighborhood purpose grants right now, just as a placeholder. But I think we ought to include it in the budget. Included in the total amount of resources we have. The other question I have, I noticed you don't have anything budgeted for elections, and we will, have elections in the spring next year, I think. So we need to have some funds there, I would think, for advertising and outreach. So maybe the $2,500 should go there.
Those are very good points.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Outreach is important. Jonathan had a comment about that earlier. Also, business cards and things like that. Catherine?
Yes, I was also going to say what Ren said. There's nothing budgeted for elections, but we are absolutely going to need money for that, depending on what approach we're going to take, whether we do another mailer, which would be around 5,000. Social media would probably be around 500 comparatively, but we'll have to sort of weigh the reach of those two options. And I do want to remind everyone that although we are proposing a budget and putting money in certain places, ultimately what goes to the city at this point are 3 totals. Is that correct, Arthur?
Right. So we have this work paper for ourselves, that we maintain on a monthly basis, but the city is really only concerned about 1 NPGs, 2 outreach, and then 3 office.
Yeah.
Those
And
3 broad categories.
So as far as what the totals are, essentially the NPGs go in the NPG, the stuff at the top that's the social media admin goes in office, and then more or less everything else on the page ends up in what's considered outreach.
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
And I don't know who's first, but CTES.
Hi, Colby. So as we're distributing money, maybe we can earmark a modest amount for participating in the group National Night Out. I know you've received this email. The most recent one, I think, was on June 13th. Colby, has any decision been made about participating in that group effort along with the Studio City Neighborhood Council, CPAB, et cetera, on August 2nd?
Yes, August 2nd. I'm leaning towards just doing our own night out, National Night Out.
Okay.
Instead of participating with other groups. And we can discuss that in new business or.
All right. Well, whatever the case may be, then probably some money should be set aside.
Yeah. Good idea.
I just heard Arthur say what the city's interested in seeing, and I doubted myself until he said outreach. Any budget I've ever prepared in my life is always attached to the mandate of the organization. And I'm remembering Dunn's mandate. It's very core to their principles to increase stakeholder participation, and that the budget doesn't have a line that reads something like that, like just increase stakeholder participation. Some outreach that's geared toward that specifically, it just seems like it reads better, no matter, like Arthur said, you can adjust it as you go along, but to me that would be a real sensible line to show should the city look into budgets. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments, stakeholders or board members? And just, again, remind everybody this can be adjusted as we move forward in the year. Okay, Arthur, do you want to bring this to a vote?
Sure. So let's. Yes, please.
And I just have a quick question before we vote. Is this to be as amended? Are you going to make some changes, or is this the budget that we're going to submit?
So I write it down as amended because I will include the rollover funds.
Great.
And obviously the Zoom National Night Out. And Jonathan, what did you had? What was that line item that you had suggested?
I would recommend something that says stakeholder, increased stakeholder participation. So
okay.
You could call it campaign stakeholder. How do you say that?
Awareness.
Stakeholder participation in campaign.
How are like stakeholder outreach?
What does that look like? I'm just curious. What does that mean, Jonathan?
It's a line item geared specifically toward increasing your stakeholder participation. I would say, leave it at that. That's probably something the city would be interested in because they have a very low experience with voting stakeholders. It's a problem. I read the papers they created last year about low stakeholder participation. So they may at some point investigate it. I just think it might read better to hold money under that line.
I mean, an example, like how I got involved with neighborhood council was a banner that was put on the railing in front of Sharkey, and it said, "Run for neighborhood council." I said, "What's that?" And
That was a suggestion by our chair. So we have reached out to the stakeholders, and there has been money allotted for that as part of the election.
No, it works. I think it really works.
So outreach, that is part of the outreach committee. Whether or not it's stated in the budget, it is part of the language that the outreach committee does. So I don't know if it necessarily needs to be stated in the budget per se.
Okay, so as amended, we'll move forward with this.
Yeah. Okay, so motion E to approve the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget for submission to the city clerk as presented to the city clerk as amended. Catherine, how do you vote?
Yes.
Arthur?
Yes.
Robin's a yes. Shannon's ineligible. Ren?
Yes.
Lee, I'm sorry, Fred?
Yes. Yes.
Fred, thank you. Matt?
Yes.
Lee?
Affirmative.
Thank you. Susanna?
Yes.
Okay, Lee, turn off mute yourself. Jonathan is ineligible. Tess?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
Jake is ineligible. Colby?
Yes.
So again, it's 1203. Motion carries. Thank you so much, Arthur.
Thanks, Arthur. Also, I want to
Thank you.
and I think Eric is still here. Arthur will join the board in 2016, April 7th, 2016. And he, like all of us, would term out 8 consecutive years after joining the board.
Who is this? I'm
2024
sorry, Arthur. Okay.
Yeah, which means 2024, but actually it was brought to my attention, I think by Catherine, it would actually be 2023, because 2024 would be a midterm term out. And I think, if Erica, you're on the call still, I think it would fall back to 2023. And at that time, unfortunately, we would have Arthur would be terming out, and we would be in the dire need of another great treasurer, or else we really can't exist as neighborhood council. So I want the existing board members to think about this. Of course, we have a good amount of time, but we're gonna coming around the corner, we're gonna need a new treasurer. Anyway, so I just want to put that out there. All right, we'll move forward to planning and land use. Ren and Fred, please. You're muted. So, Ren, you're muted. I'll help you out here.
Before we go into these, were we going to take a break?
Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah.
It's 9:11. Let's say
9:30.
No,
9:20.
That's what I was thinking. 9:20. We will see you back here. Turn your cameras and mute, and we'll see you back at 9:20. Thank you. We're taking a break. Oh, look at everybody's coming back.
That was a good idea.
Woohoo! It's the 7th inning stretch.
Is it the 7th inning? Please say it's the 7th.
Well, we're getting there. All right, so I see a
I'm
few.
afraid we may only be in the 4th or 5th inning. Anyway, hopefully you're right.
Well,
we're just going to go into overtime innings. Do they have those? I don't know sport.
That all depends on if Ren can do the the flash version of the flop. All right, looks like we're all back, I think.
You take roll again after this?
All right, yes, good call. Let me do that again. Let me find the names. Colby is here, Catherine is here, Arthur.
Here.
Okay, great. Whoops, my thing disappeared. Hold on. Robin is here. Wait, I gotta write, I'll write it later. Shannon Hartman. Yep, you're here. I see you. Ren. Red.
Here.
Matt.
Here.
Lee. Lee. Lee, are you here?
I don't see him.
I actually don't see him.
Okay. I'm hoping if he.
I see him in attendees. Hold on, the participants. Let me.
Okay. Yep, I see his name.
I'll bring him back up. I think he hung
All
up.
right. I'm going to go on. Susanna?
Yes.
Jonathan? Tess?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
Jake? And I'm going back to Lee. Lee? Lee, turn your mute off. Say hello. Can you find the button, Lee? There we go.
I did. Is it coming through now?
All right.
Yeah,
Yes. Thank you, Lee. All right. We're all back. Let's start with, let me set the time, 9:22. We are back in session. Everyone has returned, and we are going to move on to planning and land use.
Thank you. Motion F. The GTLNC send the following community impact statement, that's a CIS, to the City Council concerning file number 22-0158. That City Council motion was from Bonin, Raman, and Blumenfeld. And it basically...
Wait, we need a first and a second.
Okay, let's do that first.
I have a first.
Oh,
Sean.
Sean, thank you, Sean. Do I have a second?
Matt.
Lee.
Thank you, Matt. All right, Ren.
Okay, that council file basically extends an action that the council had taken earlier where they allowed basically homeless shelters to go on to a property zoned for commercial, industrial, and higher level residential use. This current motion would extend that to R1 and R2 properties. So basically people who had projects coming in for homeless shelters, homeless services of various kinds, could build those projects by right without having to go through public process of review. And we took a look at that, and basically we felt that it was, well, two things. The ordinance itself is way too broad. It covers way too much ground in terms of the kinds of properties that could be used. More importantly, it didn't really allow for any kind of local review of the proposed projects. And we, especially with R1 and R2, we just felt that the local area needs to know what a church or a other institution is proposing for their property. So we wrote this CIS. Let me read it. While the Greater Toluca Lake Neighborhood Council supports the right to shelter, GTLNC opposes this motion as presently written. The above referenced City Council motion is too broad and contains no opportunity for community input. We request of the LA City Council that any changes to the LA Municipal Code not be in R1 and R2 zones. We request that the City Council amend this legislation to more carefully limit the type of properties and institutions that may utilize this zoning exception, and to require local review and input into any proposed project. We request that a staff report include a list of homeless shelters and their locations that currently exist and or are proposed in the city of Los Angeles. So that's kind of a long CIS, but I think it covers the sense of what our planning committee was able to put together at our meeting. Any comments or questions? We'll move to a vote.
I have several questions. So if I'm looking at the correct motion, the motion isn't actually to make changes. It's to instruct Los Angeles City Planning, with assistance from other relevant departments, to report back in 45 days with options to amend the code to allow shelters in areas located outside of where they're currently located, which may or may not include zones R1 and R2. It's not actually making that change right now. It's requesting a report for options.
That's true. This is really the opening salvo, if you will, of this. I think some of the feeling on some of our members of our committee was that this went through City Council earlier concerning industrial, commercial, and higher level residential zoning without a lot of publicity or conversation about local input. And a number of city councils, not just our people, but city neighborhood councils across the city are very concerned that went through without setting up any local review of the projects, and that this would be even more intrusive, if you will. So I think we're trying to get on the agenda, on the radar, if you will, early on this, and let the council people know we're following this. And you're right, 45 days, they'll report back, and hopefully they'll report back and say, this shouldn't be done in R1 and R2 areas without input from neighborhood councils.
Okay, well, I will say, I do not believe that R1 and R2 ought to be excluded from being options for these. These would not force projects to occur in these areas. I think that if an area would welcome it, then it should be allowed in that area. I support the idea of having community input, but I don't think that those two should be automatically eliminated as even an option.
Well, I think you're probably right, and they may come to where they allow some of these projects to be proposed, but ideally they need to be reviewed. One of the areas where they're looking at is church properties, and allowing churches to come forward and create programs, on their parking lots or in their
yeah, so this is primarily, just for everyone's awareness, this is about religious institutions and nonprofits that already own or rent properties in possibly R1 and R2 zones. Those two are not specifically mentioned in here, although they say less restrictive. or sorry, more restrictive than R3, which would include R1 and R2. But I do just want to note that this is not extensive new building of shelter. This would be existing properties and existing organizations in these areas.
Yeah, and that's correct. But I think I still think it's important that whoever is proposing a homeless project, in our community ought to run it past us so that the community can be made aware of what's happening and know, if they want to talk to the church about who the clientele is going to be and, get some understandings, to have it suddenly sprung on the community and discover after it's already open that this has been approved by right, I don't think is fair to the community. So,
We have other hands raised. We have Jonathan.
Matt or Jonathan, okay.
Sure, I'll go. So
yeah, go ahead. Jonathan, go ahead, and then Matt.
Okay, all right. What I would like to say is I think this is exactly what our neighborhood council should be addressing. It's a file in city council. It's an example of a neighborhood council reacting quickly because it's really hard to react in time, I'm learning. I would like to say a couple things that are going to fall very unpleasantly in the conversation, not because I've ever experienced homeless shelters in people's backyards, but rather I took some time to read. In 2021, Los Angeles was identified as the second most rat-infested city in the United States, shy of Chicago. I'm not quite sure what the city council has in mind on supervising, on looking at the conditions that would go on behind someone's house when they allow this to occur. But we're talking about the shifting of this social dilemma onto private homeowners or even onto religious institutions where congregants will be under the pressure to fight it out themselves. Just this week, there was another shooting in a place of worship. These are all things we ought to be thinking about. Yes, we have impoverished people living on our streets. Is that a solution? I say no. I don't think that's what the stakeholders of Greater Toluca Lake have in mind for their future. Thank you.
Matt?
So I'm going to vote. So I'm voting no for this. And the reason is I come from the homeless space. I ran 2 homeless shelters. No matter how this goes, there's NIMBY, and no one's going to want a homeless shelter, any kind of beds, any kind of homeless, whatever, in their neighborhood. So either we be able to say something or we don't, it doesn't matter. No one's going to want it in their neighborhood. And for homeless people who have nowhere to go, I'd rather see them not be on the sidewalks at night. I'd rather see them not be under the overpass of a freeway. I'd rather they be in a cot in a church. So for me, this is a conversation of, yeah, you guys don't want a homeless shelter. I get it. They're already there. They need to go somewhere. It does make it safer for them and it makes it safer for us. So I'm voting no on this.
Yeah, the conversation at the committee level, I think there were a number of us who are of the notion that Toluca Lake needs to take on some sense its fair share of the homeless and provide services and housing for that population. However, we need to know about it and we need to be brought in and so we can support it. And there'll be some people who say, we don't want any homeless people in our neighborhood, period. But I think that's actually a minority. And I think most people are willing to at least consider possibilities. On the other hand, they don't want something that's going to overwhelm a particular neighborhood. And I think the neighborhood council and the people in the community generally ought to have some say in what kind of shelters are brought in, what kind of things are built. Just the way we do on liquor licenses or who knows, all kinds of things get reviewed before they're allowed. And I think homeless shelters probably ought to fall into that category. Any others? Kevin?
But that's
Was
he done mute if you want?
Was it
Kevin have his hand up?
I didn't have my hand up.
Okay.
Okay.
So I had my hand up. So this is a quite a topic, and I have opinions on both sides. Mainly, however, I believe that zoning has to mean something, and we have to build our communities from the bottom up. With that said, I would say that, and I think Bob Scabelli is still on the call as a member of the public. His wife, I believe, was involved. This is a long time ago, Bob, forgive me if I don't remember exactly right, but working with, when you change the name from homeless to, for example, battered women or something like that, you can frequently get the previously homeless into housed situations, and it's a little bit more palatable for the neighborhood. And it works. It can work. We have seen it work. So, but I do believe that the community has to have a say. Zoning has to mean something. We can't change zoning we can't change zoning in this way to address a problem that, and as far as I'm concerned, I'd like to see what city properties are already available. We do know that there are 1.7 million square feet of city property available, according to Ron Galperin's audit of city properties, over 26 of them. So there are many, many options before we start changing our zoning. So thank you.
Okay, so with that being said, I'm going to read the motion, and Ren, for everyone's clarification, after I read the motion, voting yes means what and voting no means what?
If you vote yes, it means we will submit the CIS as proposed. If we vote no, then we withhold it. In other words, we wouldn't send it into the city.
And can this be revisited if we don't vote to push it through? Can this be reworked? Is there a time frame that's imperative that we get it done right away?
Yes, as Catherine pointed out, this will come back with recommendations from staff in 45 days. And we'll be tracking that. And yeah, we can bring that back to the planning committee when it, as this gets, more detail, more information about it, more specific language, we can come back to it and review it. Probably should in any event.
We know when that 45-day clock started ticking, Ren?
Let's see, when they passed the motion here, wait a second. Oh, they haven't actually voted on this motion yet. So after the city council approves this motion, then the 45-day clock starts.
I see. Okay.
We've got plenty of time, actually.
Okay, so motion F, that the GTLNC send the following community impact statement, CIS, to the city council, RE file number 22-0158. Catherine, how do you vote?
No.
Arthur?
Yes.
I'm going to abstain. Shannon?
Yes.
Thank you. Ren?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Matt?
No.
Lee?
Sorry.
Lee? Are you there, Lee? Let me give it another second. Lee?
We'll come back. I'm asking him.
All right. Susanna?
Yes.
Jonathan?
Yes.
This is Lee.
Lee, how do you vote? Yes or no?
I want it where the community has an impact statement, where the community has a say.
So yes.
Yes.
Correct? Okay.
Yes.
Tess,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Jake,
Yes.
and Colby.
Yes.
All right, let me count. Yeses are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Not go to the, or tell Joey, man, go to your
I
room or
have,
something.
please mute whoever's talking.
I got him.
Okay, we have 1 abstain and 1, 2 noes. So 12, 2, 1. Motion carries. Thank you, Ren.
Here we go. Motion G, that the GTLNC send the following community impact statement, CIS, to the City Council concerning file number 20-1376-S3. And
Have a first. I need a first. Said that. Robin, I'll be the first. Who will be the second?
Sean.
Second, Jonathan.
Sean. Thank you, Sean. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, the motion was put into the council file by Councilman Buscaino, and it would prohibit the homeless basically from within 500 feet of a library. And when I say prohibit, they couldn't sit or sleep or whatever. They couldn't put their stuff, within 500 feet of the library. Basically, they couldn't encroach on the space around the library. I won't go into a lot of the details on this, but the bottom line is this is kind of in keeping with Councilman Buscaino's approach to the homeless. In his district, he's been much more focused on the police and a police response to the homeless, less so to programmatic responses. And this kind of follows his approach. And he's got some fairly serious examples of libraries where the homeless people have really kind of moved in, and they use the libraries effectively all day long. They use the bathrooms and sleep at the library, use the computers and all that. And they have store their things outside the library, typically in carts or whatever. And so now he wants to make this citywide where the homeless can't encroach on effectively the outside of the library. But I think part of his intent is to keep them out of the libraries altogether. So that is the I think the effect of this motion. Catherine, you want to comment?
Sure, I'll go first. I am horrified by not only us submitting a CIS on this, but that this was a proposal at all. For many people, the library is their only access to the internet. This is particularly true among the homeless population. If they want to apply for jobs or do any sort of work online, the library is one of their best, if not their only option in some cases. And to prohibit them from coming within 500 feet of this, like they have committed a crime by being homeless, is absolutely unconscionable, in my opinion. It is one thing to want to prevent overnight camping, to want to prevent storage of personal property in an area, but to prevent them from coming within 500 feet of a library at any time, because I don't see a carve out for going into the library during operating hours. I mean, Ren, you seem to suggest that the point of this was to keep them out of the library too. I just think we're really losing sight of them being people. you know, and wanting them to actually be part of our community and our society, to prevent them from using a public entity. I don't understand why we would support that. So clearly I'm going to vote no on this. Thank you.
Next, I saw Matt Cannon.
Yeah, I am blown away that this is even on here as well. I mean, so when we think about the homeless, I think of what people are thinking about here is those folks who are on the streets, who are crazy, who are talking on themselves, who are going to the bathroom on themselves, right? That's what we're thinking about right now. But again, let me just tell you, I come from the homeless world. Like, I know this world. There are homeless kids. There are kids who don't have computers. There are adults who need to apply for jobs who don't have the internet, who don't have a computer, who don't have any kind of outlet to plug in their phone, or for that matter, if they had something valuable for them to just bring with them. This is absolutely ridiculous, because homeless people just like us could go use a library. Also, aside from all of that, how exactly is this going to be enacted? How do you know who's homeless that you have to keep 500 feet away from every single library in LA? This whole thing doesn't make any sense to me. So 1000%, I can't believe this is even up, but yeah, I'm a huge no on this as well.
Next, I saw Tess.
Tess, you're muted.
I am now unmuted. Catherine, I hope you're sitting down. I agree with you. But I don't think this motion by Councilmember Buscaino is to keep people out of the library. And frankly, I would recommend strongly that we revise the CIS if we send it in to say as much, because I agree. I don't want any homeless people removed from libraries unless, of course, they're being disruptive. This motion, as I understand it, was proposed to keep folks from using the outside portion of the library as storage, and a lot of pile up of rubbish and trash and so on and so forth. So that I would support strongly, amending this CIS to make it clear that it's outside the library and not entering or in the library that is prohibited. The storage of materials, junk, belongings, etc. That's it.
And Jonathan.
So I would like to bring forward what occurred in committee, that there was concern about children, safety of people, other vulnerable people. I'd also like to call to your attention who Mr. or Assembly Member Buscaino is. His district, if you don't know it, runs from Watts over toward the Long Beach area. It's one of the more impoverished, if not the most impoverished corridor of Los Angeles. This is not somebody who knows nothing at all about the difficulties of depravity. I don't know him personally, but again, in my reading, I just read to find out a little bit about what is going on. Our libraries have to be available. This is not, from my understanding, a proposal to keep anyone out of a library. It's to regulate access to the library. You know, completely on board with this, that a community has to think of itself as being safe. And sometimes we have to make individual sacrifices for that safety of the community. And I think this might very well be one of those examples where, in order to keep our children safe, all the elderly people who go in and out of a library, they need access to stairs and careful access to handrails. There's a lot of things you can imagine on your own as to why this exists. And I don't know if it's so helpful for anyone to express appall at other people's proposals rather than accept their arguments as legitimate and listen carefully for the logic. That's my struggle. And that's all I'm engaged at, is I'm not appalled that anyone should feel one way or the other. I'm just ingesting the information and trying to make a good decision for how stakeholders envision their future in their community. Thanks.
We're going to go to just two more board members and then stakeholders. I saw Lee Jameson and then Shannon. So Lee.
Yeah, hi. I don't have a problem with having their stuff there if it's a metal shed locked and secure in a neat area where they could go and maybe go to the library and get either a key or a code to get their personal belongings out of this metal storage, but not just sitting around the light outside scattered any old which way. That's not going to work.
Thanks, Lee and Shannon, and then we'll go to stakeholders, and then we'll do.
Okay, I have a question for Ren. So is the proposal that they cannot at all go into the library unless if they wanted, like how Catherine was saying, maybe go on the internet to look for a job? Is that off limits to them completely?
No, well, I think not, because how would the police determine whether someone was homeless or not homeless if they just are walking in? No, I think it's not clear how this would be implemented. I think, frankly, this is part of Councilman Buscaino's attempt to support, his friend Rick Caruso running for mayor, and they are. I need to be real careful here.
Then may I read the entire motion? Because it's only one sentence, just so everyone can hear exactly what it says. The motion in City Council.
Go ahead.
So the motion reads, I move that the LA City Attorney be requested to prepare and present an ordinance amending LAMC 41.18 and 56.11 to prohibit sitting, lying, sleeping, and storing personal property within 500 feet of a library. I don't know how you use a computer without sitting at it.
They mean sitting on the ground, or they mean sitting in a chair?
It simply says sitting within 500 feet. Inside a library would be within 500 feet.
Yeah. It's, by the way, this, when it first came to committee, it was a motion to not support this ordinance, and the committee split fairly evenly, but we ended up voting to support it instead of, we took out the word not. So it was kind of a mixed, even out of committee. So I think it's something we all have to look at and deal with. I'm personally going to vote no on this, by the way, because I think it's not the right approach to dealing with the homeless. I think the homeless need to be there need to be programs, there need to be activities. We need to use the libraries to serve the homeless in a variety of ways, and to criminalize the activity of the homeless in and around the library, I think, is the wrong approach. But that's, well, interesting.
We're gonna move on to that's and we were not having the meeting. A lot more to go.
We have one question.
Well, hold on, we have a hand raised also in the attendees. Tess, you had a real quick comment. We really have to move forward.
Did you call on me, Colby?
You had your hand raised, but I
did.
Move forward. Okay.
Yeah. I think as the motion was read by Catherine, I don't think that implies in a library, and I believe we should add that and amend the motion to specify that they're not prohibited in a library. This is about a buildup of stuff and blight around the libraries. That's my comment. Thank you.
All right, Ron Sabini.
Okay. Well, and Tess, please jump in, because I think Tess said at our Planning and Land Use Committee meeting that there were enough shelters available to house the homeless, but we find that many of them refuse to go. And moreover, I think Ren is editorializing too much on this about the reasons for it and about its impact within the library. Our understanding when we voted on this was that it was to prevent them from storing, lying, sleeping, etc., that we see as in underpasses within 500 feet of public libraries. Children need to go there. One of our members of the committee complained that he, an adult, is afraid now to walk to the North Hollywood Library because of all the homeless there. He's afraid to go. So he would never let his grandchildren go. Thank you.
Thank you. And real quick,
And to clarify, Ron, we have enough beds for the homeless in CD2. So that's my comment.
Great.
Okay,
I'm going to read the motion again.
Oh, and Jonathan, you have something else to add? Or you're okay?
But again, Ren, voting yes on this motion means what? And voting no on this motion means what? You're muted, Ren. You're muted, Ren.
Voting yes means you support the Buscaino motion, and voting no means that you oppose it.
Okay. All right. Motion G.
Colby, can I just, before we go to just one comment, the English language, when we say within 500 feet, they use this in the smoking ordinances. If you're within 500 feet of an entry, for example, it has nothing to do with what's beyond that entry. We're talking strictly about access to libraries. We are not talking about who goes in it and uses it. So to be clear, there's confusion about language here. Within 500 feet of a library is talking about access. It is clearly not the language of who enters the library. One is free to come and go. One is not free under this ordinance to linger within 500 feet. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to vote.
Okay. I'm going to start with Catherine.
No.
Arthur.
Yes.
I'm going to vote yes. Shannon.
I'm torn on this one. So as with what Jonathan just said, so just to be clear, so the people can have access to go to use the computer, but they can't camp.
There is
that what we're saying?
nothing specified. There's nothing specified in the motion about entry to the building. It simply says within 500 feet, and how you interpret what within 500 feet means is up to you. It does not say within 500 feet outside of a library.
I would have to vote no, stipulating that maybe they go back and they clarify.
You're also abstained.
Ren,
No.
Fred,
No.
Matt,
1000% no.
Lee,
I don't know how I'll word this, but no loitering. That's how I vote. However,
that means yes.
interpreted. No loitering.
Okay. Susanna,
Abstain.
Entry, okay, no loitering. Okay, then yes, it is.
I think you need clarification.
okay. Lee, if you look at it within 500 feet, that means you are not allowed to camp out, sit, or leave your things. I guess it could mean it leaves. I'm confused too. I'm sorry, I'm confused too. If you think about it the way Jonathan stated it, I mean, it's like,
Okay.
you know, we're talking, the library is not allowing people to come into the library. Of course not. They're not gonna send people out. That what they're recommending is that the entrances to the library are kept clear. Is that my understanding, Ren?
That is an interpretation of it, but that's not how it's written specifically.
No. Okay, so if you
And it's 500 feet. That's not the entrance only.
Yeah, we've had enough discussion.
So can I just recommend that we table this?
Well, we're happy to the vote. I don't know. We're more than happy to.
Can't we postpone it until it's written properly so that we can actually clarify?
Well, Robin, the motion before city council is the part that's written confusingly.
Yeah. Okay, okay, well then we'll just keep going. Lee, you voted yes.
Affirmative.
Susanna?
Abstain.
Okay, let me. Greg, Jonathan,
Yes.
Fred,
I voted no.
Kevin,
Yes.
Sean. Are you muted, Sean?
Yeah, I'm torn too. I don't have enough information. I'm going to abstain.
All right. Jake?
No.
No. And Colby?
Did you skip Tess or did my internet go out?
Did I skip Tess?
Yes, you
Oh,
did.
Tess said no. Didn't you say no?
No, I did not. I was not called.
Okay, I apologize. Tess?
Yes, with clarification that it is not in the library.
In the library.
Tess, that's not how a CIS works. This would be the exact language that we'd submit.
In that case, yes, because my interpretation is that it is not including inside the library, and that's important.
I agree. Okay, Colby.
Abstain. I don't have enough information.
Okay, so I'm going to read your name and your vote so that we get clarity. Catherine, will you count? Colby, abstain. Catherine, no. Arthur, yes. Robin, yes. Shannon, no. Ren, no. Fred, no. Matt.
Sorry, Robert, can you start over? You're going very fast for me to count.
Okay, sorry. Colby, abstain. Catherine, no. Arthur, yes. Robin, yes. Shannon, no. Ren, no. Fred, no. Matt, no. Lee, yes. Susanna, abstain. Jonathan, yes. Tess, yes. Kevin, yes. Sean, abstain. Jake, no. Can you give me the vote?
The vote is 6-6-3, which means it does not pass because it requires a majority and a tie is not a majority.
Great. Does not pass. Okay.
Okay, the planning committee will keep an eye on this and see where it goes. Motion H, to support the application for an overheight wall on the south lot line for 10459 Camarillo Street, with the understanding that the owner will preserve the large pine tree that will be within the side yard behind the new wall.
We need a first.
Catherine first.
Thank you, Catherine. And who was the second?
I'll do it.
Colby?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, good. This had been at the planning committee several months ago, and we supported this. And for some reason, we didn't get it on the GTLNC agenda, so it's coming back now. If you're familiar with Camarillo Street, it's a major street coming out of Glendale. There's an intersection there at Lancashire, I think, and other major intersections. But Camarillo is a fairly narrow street through that area, but it carries a lot of traffic. And this particular development that this house is on was a very large lot, and it got subdivided into 4 sublots. And so there's 2 houses that are actually on Camarillo, but it's their side yards that face onto Camarillo. And then there are 2 more behind that. And there's a little like a street, a little private street that goes back to the 4 garages for the 4 houses.
Ren, is there a way that you can share like Google Maps, what this looks like? Can you actually show us? Or Colby or Catherine, does somebody have accessibility to show us that address, 10459 Camarillo Street?
Yeah, I just had it up and I shut it down, but let me get it back up.
If you could share that, Susanna, we might have a better idea of what you're.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Does Susanna have the ability to share screen?
Yes, I think I do.
Great.
I just have to get the right one. So here's the image. Can you see it?
Can you make it bigger?
Yeah.
As big as possible. There we go. Great, great. Okay, so Ren, can you describe this for us?
Sure. The right in front here, you see the street. That's Camarillo Street, and the cars go by right there after the where the line is there, the second line coming from the curb. The house is actually, this is the line there, the little fence plus the hedge there is the side yard of the house, and the house faces onto the little street there. Exactly. Thank you.
And what street is that, Ren?
So what they're proposing to do is build a wall that's on this side of the tree, that big pine tree, a beautiful big old pine tree there. And the homeowner really wants to preserve it and protect it. But the wall will run, you see the little white box that's just to the right of the trash cans there. Yeah, right there. And then over here, just to the left of the tree. Yeah, that. Those will be on the outside of the wall, but the wall will be right behind that. And the homeowner then will have that whole space then will become part of their side yard. They'll have use of that space and protection from the traffic and noise and so forth from the street.
So just to clarify, the fence that they want to put is going to go between the tree and the electrical boxes. So they're going to put their property line beyond the tree, closer to the street.
Well, technically, I mean, their property line runs right at the street there. But the electrical box, actually, I think the electrical box is in the street right of way. So they're going to put their wall right on their property line.
Well, the reason I'm questioning this is because I do walk sometimes on Camarillo, sometimes to visit a friend, sometimes just to walk. And it's an extremely dangerous street. And the wall, if it gets moved out, gives the pedestrian less right of way. And you would have to actually walk into the street if you were going to pass this property.
Well, there would still be a little room to walk where the box is and so forth. There would still be some room there. It's not. It wouldn't be great. On the other hand, there's all along there on Camarillo, there's other walls and fences and so forth. So it really is not a pedestrian-friendly street at all, anyway. So I don't know. I mean, I generally am opposed to walls. In this particular case, it seemed to make sense to me that this would work.
And why can't they leave the wall where it is and build the wall where the existing wall is and just, I mean.
No, well, I think part of what they want to do is create more space for their yard because they don't have much space on the other side, private space, the way their house is set up. One technical element of this, because it's a side yard and not a front yard, the city's ordinances in terms of how high the wall can be and so forth are a little different. So like typically a person can build an 8-foot wall in the back or along the sides of their house. It's only in the front yard that they can't build a high wall. And in this case, the guy's front yard is actually this, starting with this little lawn here and going along the street there. So he's, it's an interesting problem. But one of the elements that, in talking to the owner, I was impressed with the fact that he wants to be sure this pine tree is taken care of, and he's worried because it's so dry and what have you. He kind of tries to lean over his fence and put water on the tree sometimes, but he's afraid it's the way it's set up out there now, it's going to dry out and the tree is going to die.
And we have a couple of hands raised. I see Lee.
Yeah, let's.
Hi, Lee.
Hi, am I on?
Yes.
Okay. I have two case safety concerns. Number one, wheelchair access. Can a big wheelchair get past there if that's built? Second thing, I believe that's on the corner of Foreman, is it not?
No.
No.
Is it on a corner lot?
No.
No.
Okay,
This is
then
a
my-
cul-de-sac and it's actually closer to Coenga.
Oh, all right. Then my only concern is the wheelchairs.
Or just
Camarillo.
yeah. Okay, Bob Civelli. We're going to go to the stakeholder. Hi, Bob.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Hello.
You're on.
Yes, Bob, we can hear you. Go
All
ahead.
right, thank you. I just want to add some clarification, if I may. As Ren has pointed out, what you're looking at is the side of the man's property, and he is entitled to pull that wall out, even though I don't like it, but he's entitled to pull it out to his property line. And as Ren also said, the code allows you to go from 6 to 8 feet on the wall. So this is not what he's asking for. The reason he's coming to the planning committee and then to the city planning department has to do with this cul-de-sac over here, because you only allow a 42-inch fence on your front. And he is asking to raise this to 8 feet for a short distance on this cul-de-sac road. And the only reason the committee voted to approve this was he showed us proof that the neighbors didn't object to it. Normally, we don't like high walls because they destroy a neighborhood on frontage. Frontage high walls destroy the feel of a neighborhood, and that's why the 42-inch limit is there. It's rarely imposed, but it's there. So allowing him to build a wall all the way down his property would have been a real no-no, but he's only a portion of his frontage will have the wall, and his neighbors don't care. This is not a through street, so it's not going to destroy a neighborhood because you're never going to go down the street.
But
so we
Bob,
approved it.
will it, if you pull the wall out
Yeah.
that much further, Camarillo is such a dangerous street to pull out on. The nose of the car is going to literally have to be at the edge of the driveway to the street in order to see clearly whether they can pull out, turn left, turn right.
Yeah,
So I'm wondering if it's a hazard.
No, it's really not a hazard because it's just the 4 people are back here. He's entitled to do it. He's on his property and he's entitled to do that. I don't know how else you can stop him. We do have a case just that we've been fighting for many, many years in the safety committee, just east of this on the corner of Ledge. That owner has built a hedge, a high wall into the parkway, 15 feet as a matter of fact. And that is definitely creating a public nuisance and a danger. There's been several accidents there because of it. And the public, the safety committee as well, just the safety committee has gone through with a lawyer. We've spent 3 or 4 years fighting that particular piece of property. Clear violation, not about a height of wall, but a violation of building a wall out to the edge of a road where there's a 15-foot clearance at that particular location. So the city is not enforcing these things and they don't care. Our only concern was for these neighbors and they didn't care about it goes back maybe 20, 30 feet. He's building a little entertainment area in here and completely putting a wall around it. The neighbors don't care, so we voted for it. But he is in his rights. He's on the and I don't know why he's doing it. You're right. Just for a few extra feet of property, it doesn't make sense.
Okay.
And I wish he wouldn't do it.
Thanks
But
for the clarification. I appreciate that. Thanks, Bob. I don't see any other hands raised, so I say we do this, bring this to a vote. We have a lot more to do tonight.
All right, I'm going to read the motion. Motion H, to support the application for an overheight wall on the south lot line for 10459 Camarillo Street, with the understanding that the owner will preserve the large pine tree that will be within the side yard behind the new wall. How do you vote, Catherine? 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 Can you hear me, Catherine? You're not muted. Catherine? Step away. Okay, I'm gonna come back to Catherine. Arthur?
Yes.
Oh, wait, I gotta type in a name here. Hang on one second. Okay. Robin? I'm going to abstain. Shannon?
Yes.
Ren?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Lee?
No, at this point, because I don't know about the wheelchair clearance.
All right. Well, Lee, I hope nobody's on a wheelchair on Camarillo, just FYI.
Rob,
Susanna,
this is
sorry.
Catherine. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Hi, I abstain anyway, but
Okay, thank
I'm
you.
back.
All right, thank you. Susanna?
Yes.
Wait, I gotta type in Jonathan's name. Give me one sec. All right, Jonathan.
Planning and Land Use Committee paid a very good amount of attention for this, and I support their decision, which was yes.
Great. Tess?
Yes.
Kevin? 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 It's like Home Alone. Kevin?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
Jake?
And yes.
Colby?
Yes.
Okay. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 yeses. 1 no. And 2 abstain. Motion carries. Thank you, Ray.
Very good.
12.
Okay. Thank you all. And I'm going to move on to the other items here. I'm going to try to move real quickly, but wave your hand if you need more info. The Toluca Lake Community Plan status. Moving forward, I'm talking to the planners. We're looking at probably late July or August for community meetings to introduce the plan that the planners have come up with. Those will be important meetings, but we won't talk about it tonight. Parking on Foreman Avenue under the 134 freeway. We finally got our contract out of the city clerk's office. It's gone over to the city attorney one last time, I hope, short. And so we ought to be moving forward finally with that project. Update on the project. Oh yeah, the 10057, 10063 Riverside Drive. Tess, you want to talk about the post office there?
I don't have any updates other than I have reached out 10 times to our congressman, both his district and his Washington office. I know there's some things afoot. I understand that at least one of the shops next to it is closing. Customers got notices, but I keep hearing conflicting details, so I don't want to report until I know for sure.
Okay, thanks. 9950 Toluca Lake Avenue, oversized fence request, and I give the ZA number there. That we will be discussing at our next meeting, so tune in if you're interested in that overside wall and fence. And finally, state legislative agenda. Again, there's a lot of things up in Sacramento that are cooking. Nothing is critical at the moment. We'll check in with you the next couple of months to fill you in on stuff that really looks like it's going to go through the stated process. Any other planning questions, issues?
No, I think you're very
back to Colby.
Thank you, Ren. Very good job.
All right, we're moving on to public safety. Thank you, Plum Committee. Great job.
And thank you, Fred, also. Yes, public safety, Cata Soleil. Well, Officer Delbar is on maternity leave for at least 2 months.
Maternity.
Yeah,
He's definitely not on maternity leave.
Another baby.
No, and the baby came early, so it was unexpected. So we have an officer that's going to be assigned to us hopefully soon. But the Codasol incident, for any of you who have not yet heard, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, there was a at gunpoint robbery of a valet patron, somebody who was coming out from lunch, held at gunpoint from behind by a African-American child, underage, 16 is what they're told or guessing, or what we were told. Robbed this gentleman of his Rolex watch, which they believe he was at someplace before, and they might have followed him to the restaurant. And they are working on this case, but they want to make sure that people are aware not to wear expensive things at the moment, that there's people watching, and it's better just to be safe. So please just keep your eyes open. Make sure if someone's following you, keep your eyes open when you drive home, because we've heard of other incidents that have happened in other neighborhoods where they followed people home. So just be aware. Oh, and the neighbor to neighborhood block party, that was a collaboration between the Neighborhood Watch and the homeowners, was a great success. Thank you to all my watch captains for hosting an event. It was kind of an impromptu, let's get together and meet your neighbors in hopes to find out if people on your street are on a neighborhood watch or on your neighborhood watch. So we signed up quite a few people, and we're still looking for watch captains on streets that don't have them. But it was such a success that the party just kept going on. When I drove around to look at the various parties, there were some block parties that had 50 people at them. And it was very sort of bring your own food or whatever the host decided to do. So because it was so successful, we are hoping to do it again. So thank you to all. And Colby, I'll let you take the next one.
Yes, we discussed a possible letter, CIS, by the GTLNC to send to the LAPD on support and appreciation for their service to us. Again, I don't have a letter written right now, but we're hoping, I'm happy to discuss it a little bit right now.
Well, we sent your
that's a
letter.
positive CIS. I'm sorry, Robin?
We sent your letter to everyone.
No, it's a different, this isn't the Gaston letter.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, a CIS needs to reference some kind of council action.
This letter isn't written.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe the city budget,
A file.
for police department or whatever you want to identify, but there really needs to be something specific.
Right.
Action to reference.
A letter. I'm sorry, my internet is getting unstable right now. It's a little jumpy right now on my side. And that's something we can move forward with. And please speak up right now, but it'd be nice to submit a letter of appreciation instead of something that's negative. Moving forward, I want to talk about the Gascon policy letter. It might take a few more minutes to go through. Erica, you wanted to chime in with us. We discussed this a couple of times in the past week. Yes, let me bring you on
Okay, are we reading the motion or we?
Erica wants to talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
Sure, thank you. So just to recap, especially for some of our members, for some of our new members, at the previous meeting, I stated that the recommendation was for the Greater Toluca Lake not to submit a request for action nor a community impact statement due to the item not being on the City Council's agenda. And with the pending recall effort, it would be considered that the Greater Toluca Lake NC would be weighing in on a candidate election, which would be impermissible. Today, I understand that there has been some changes to the letter, which includes an invitation for LA County District George Gascon to talk about his policies at a Greater Toluca Lake meeting, and the letter is focusing more on policies as opposed to the individual. So with that being said, the recommendation today is for the Greater Toluca Lake to table the item, which would require a second and a vote, so that the city attorney's office can have time to review the updated letter and details of what the meeting would look like if Gascon attended. I'll also add that it was brought to my attention that if the board did proceed to take a vote on this item, it could be viewed as a misuse of public resources, as NCs are not permitted to take positions on candidate elections. And again, just emphasizing that that we do recognize that this is a pending recall effort, but with that being said, it still makes it seem like the NC is taking a position. Another thing that I just wanted to note is that during the last meeting, it was brought up a few times about how the advice violates the NC's First Amendment right. And so I was asked to provide some, policy or legislation. So I do want to note that the Los Angeles City Charter, Section 900, notes that there are some limitations to the powers of NCs, stating that neighborhood councils shall have an advisory role of issues of concern to the neighborhood. And so I'll start reading verbatim here, but this is what I'm about to read was provided on one of our onboarding series workshops. And you can find this on the data page on the Empower LA website. And this is the NC Core Leadership Module 1. So it vests the city council with the power to establish the city's official position on local, state, or federal legislation, rules, regulations, and policies subject to the mayor's veto. And this is noted on on the Los Angeles Charter, Section 254. And so the Charter's specification of these rules ensures a system that speaks with one voice and avoids confusion on matters involving county, state, or federal legislation and other issues. NCs may not communicate their positions directly to the county, state, and or federal legislators. So with all that being said, again, the recommendation for today is that the NC votes to table this item until the city attorney's office is given additional time to review the letter, as well as the details moving forward in the case that the NC was decided to invite the Los Angeles County District Attorney to attend one of your meetings and speak on the policies that are of concern.
I have a little more to say. Should we get a first and second and then continue the discussion? Erica?
I'm sorry, Kobe, you were breaking up a bit. It was difficult.
Yeah, my internet stays. Yeah. Should we get a first and second right now? Because I have a little bit more to say about this letter.
So do we go ahead and read the motion, get a first and second, and then?
Yeah, let's continue. Let's do that.
Motion I, to submit a letter of opposition to LA County District Attorney George Gascon regarding several policies he has introduced. Do I have a first?
First, Jonathan.
Jonathan, thank you, Jonathan. Do I have a second?
Tess.
Tess, thank you, Tess.
All right, no real
Discussion on the
second
matter?
discussion. Yeah, thanks, Erica. And I actually had a conversation with Elise Rudin today, and and she, you know, basically, yeah, said kind of echoed what you said. However, I think she thought the letter was more pointed than it really was. She hadn't seen the letter that was written, and she mentioned that, you know, as you said, that we'd be using public resources, you know, for inappropriate purposes. However, I introduced the idea of a letter of concern regarding Mr. Gaston's policies instead of a letter of no confidence, and a letter of concern combined with an invitation to come and speak with us at a meeting. And she seemed to like that idea. And that's pretty much the feeling I want to convey, is that we are concerned about this, and we want to open up dialogue between our neighborhood council and the DA's office. So my feeling is to table this, create a different letter.
It would be postponed, right?
Well, well,
what's the difference?
Catherine has her hand raised.
Right.
Good policy. Hi, Catherine.
Hello. I was gonna second a motion to postpone or to table. I guess Erica might specify which one we do, but I think our options are to table it, basically, according to the training that we had on the Brown Act.
Okay.
In our phone call today.
Great. So Colby, you are recommending that we table this motion?
Hold on, I want to hear from Jonathan.
Yes, I have a couple questions to Erica. First of all, I do believe that this board is placed in an untenable position. I think we have no choice but to table it because of the way things work. No board member should be asked to expose themselves individually or whatever. The second thing is, Erica, if I'm not mistaken, you said a CIS and a letter of action has to be attached to a motion of the city council. That's not at all true from what I understand, unless you're correct and I'm wrong. I thought a letter of action is simply that. At any point in time, the neighborhood council can write a letter of action requesting some action. Is that right?
Yeah, my apologies for the confusion. So yes, a CIS needs to be attached to an item that the council, that is on the city council's agenda. However, request for action is to more so of an effort to bring attention to an issue or item, so that way the city council could take a position on. So in my statement, I had mentioned, again, recapping from the last meeting, that at the time, given the letter as it was not appropriate for a request for action nor a CIS.
Right, I remember what you had said. How do you reconcile the fact that another neighborhood council has done just this?
That was something that I need to bring up to the city attorney's office, given that I've taken some time, as well as Kobe, to talk with Elise Rudin at the city attorney's office. It has not been mentioned that a CIS of this sort has been done. I'm also having trouble.
You've seen it, right? You have a copy of it, right?
No, I do not.
We'll get you a copy. You should have a copy. I found it on the internet. It's really easy to find. In any case, I think it's shocking to me. I mean, I just find it an untenable position you put the neighborhood council in order to comment on policies having to do with the public safety, which is exactly within the scope of its duties as written by Dunn. I went to the Dunn website, so we'll work it through. I mean, things are taken a step at a time, but clearly the people are entitled to have their voice heard by city council, and any entity that stands in the way of that action is a problem for me. That's something I believe very strongly in, that American government relies on hearing from the people. And this is an act that interferes with that freedom. Thank you.
So it seems like the appropriate terminology would be tabling, Erica,
Yes, what, we have tabled this motion.
instead of
So-
delaying or postponing.
We need
That's
to
right,
vote on
Colby.
that.
We need
Yes,
to
I know, I
vote
just
on
said
tabling the motion.
tabling or postponing. Tabling, is that correct?
Yes, the recommendation was to table, and the reason to table the item is because there's not a specific date as to when we will take up the matter, right? We'd be waiting on guidance from the city attorney's office. So that would really be the difference between postponing is you're identifying that specific date as to when we would be taking up the matter. Tabling is until further notice, so to speak.
So Erica, do we need to actually take a vote to table?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, let's vote. to
Motion
table.
I to submit a letter of opposition to.
No, this is just a motion to table.
So it's a separate.
We need a first and a second on this,
We
right?
need a first and a second, okay? Just a
Well, I
second.
think Colby, you already moved to table and then I seconded.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Hold on, let me just make sure I get this down. So Colby and then Catherine. And do I have to state this as a motion that we're tabling?
Yes, motion to table, motion I.
Okay. All right. Give me 1 second. Motion I to table, motion I.
Oh, Erica has her hand raised. Hi, Erica.
Thanks, Kobe. And then while Robin gets this together, I just wanted to ask Jonathan, if you don't mind sending over or just letting me know which neighborhood council has proposed and passed this type of CIS, that would be helpful to me. So that way, when I'm taking this back to the city attorney's office, I can bring it to their attention.
Okay. Oh, that's a quick comment.
Okay, so we're gonna take a quick vote. Motion I to table,
Robin,
motion I.
Robin, hold on.
Yes,
I had a comment or a question for Erica. So to table it is to put it to an indefinite future date. To postpone is to put it to a specific future date. What is your sense of how soon the city attorney will get to this, Erica, or is this just sweeping it under the rug?
It's, to be honest with you, it's difficult to say. It really depends on when Elise gets back to me, but I can promise you that I'm going to do my best to push this along because I do understand that this is of concern to the Greater Toluca Lake Neighborhood Council. So, that's what I can say. I'm going to do my best to keep it, to continue pushing it forward, but as to provide an estimate, that would be difficult because we're dependent on the city attorney's office.
Yeah, and
But I will say that when I called Elise today, she picked right up immediately. And she was very.
And thank you, Erica.
All right, we're gonna move forward to the vote.
Okay,
We're
motion
actually having
I
1 o'clock in the morning ETA right now.
to table, motion I. Catherine, how do you vote?
Yes.
Arthur, how do you vote?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes.
Yes. Shannon?
Yes.
Ren?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Lee?
I see like.
Affirmative on me.
Thank you. Susanna? Are you saying yes? I see your mouth moving. Okay.
Yes, I couldn't.
Yes.
put it down.
Wait. Jonathan?
Yes.
Tess?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Sean? I'm
Yes.
getting tired, guys. Sean?
Yes.
Jake?
Yes.
And Colby?
Yes.
So 15-0 motion carries to table.
Yeah.
And now motion I has been tabled. So I'm going to make note that it was tabled.
And our next public safety meeting is July 5th at 6 p.m.
Yes. Yeah, we
July
have,
4th, so yeah.
because it is a very full next 2 weeks to try to move the meeting. we were going to cancel, but we'll have a quick meeting on July 5th at 6 o'clock before there was another meeting at 6:30. So it'll be quick.
Governmental.
Yes, correct.
Now we're moving on to outreach and elections.
All right, well, next year is going to be an election year. Tentatively, our elections will be in June, but we're waiting on final schedules for the various regions. But we have been asked to submit an election information worksheet by August 1st, which essentially is us selecting our polling location as well as an alternate polling location if our requested location ends up not working out. So we have motion J to approve Harmony Church as requested polling location and Toluca Lake Elementary as alternate polling location for submission on the 2023 Neighborhood Council Election Information Worksheet. Polling hours to be 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. GTLNC contacts to be outreach chair and president selected at July 2022 annual meeting.
Do I have a first?
First, Tess.
Tess, thank you, Tess. Do I have a second?
Susanna.
Thank you, Susanna. Any discussion on the matter? Sounds like unanimous. All right.
Great. So let's vote.
Motion one more time. Motion J to approve Harmony Church as requested polling location and Toluca Lake Elementary as alternate polling location for submission on the 2023 Neighborhood Council Election Information Worksheet. Polling hours to be 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. GTLNC contacts to be outreach chair and president selected at July 2022 annual meeting. Catherine, how do you vote?
Yes.
Arthur?
Yes.
Robin is a yes. Ren?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Lee?
Affirmative.
Thank you, Lee. Jonathan?
Yes.
Tess?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
Oh, you know what?
Yeah.
The thing dropped down, so I apologize. Shannon?
Yes.
I was on the next line on the next page. Susanna?
Yes.
And Jake?
Yes.
Colby?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries 15-0-0.
Very good. Environmental. Unless we have, hold on. Nope, that's it. Environmental.
No, that's it for outreach for now. Just a reminder that there are new water restrictions in effect. Please limit watering to 2 days a week, only before 9 a.m. or after 4 p.m. to avoid evaporation and actually make that watering effective. Odd number street addresses are on Monday and Friday. Even number street addresses should water or may water on Thursday and Sunday. We'd also love to find someone that's willing to be our Neighborhood Council Sustainability Alliance rep. You don't need to be a board member to be our NCSA rep. Yeah.
Great, wonderful. Governmental.
I'm going to make this the shortest report ever. So overview of pending legislation. There's a lot going on. If you want to hear about it, come to our Governmental Affairs Committee meeting on July 5th. Lots of it's related to land use, and I'm going to look at taking on some fuel gas gouging CISs relative to the legislative update that Erica sent out earlier, or the Empower LA. That will interest you, Robin, because of gas prices. So we're going to invite a state assembly member, representative, or a legislative analyst to our July 5th meeting. When that's confirmed, you'll know about it. Last but not least, discussion of possible future actions for GTLNC to take and submit community impact statements. I do agree with Jonathan that we need to make our voices heard, and I think it's important that we do so on all issues. And I don't like our sovereignty being taken away from us in this way, but more to follow. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Fantastic. Great job, committees. Colby?
Yes, thank you. And congratulations to Shannon and Jonathan. Great to have you aboard. I will be contacting you with your official GTLNC.org email the next day or two. If you don't receive an email from me or call, feel free to call or text me to remind me, but I'll get those done soon.
And as soon as you have those set up, Jonathan and Shannon, please reach out to me because I need to add you to my email list. I don't want to forget to email you various
Robin,
agenda.
did you just say for us to contact you when?
As soon
I'm
as
gonna issue you your emails, and once I issue you your official emails,
okay,
it's going to take some setup to do it. So
okay.
once it's set up and it's active and you can receive it on your computer, your phone, or whatever, you need to reach out to me and say, I'm active. Please add my email address, and I will add you to the list.
Okay. Also, I confirm I forwarded that letter to Erica already. Thank you.
Okay, good. Yeah, I read that there's over 24 neighbor councils have been. I did some research also, but
under new business, we added the budget, but we had talked to Arthur at the exec meeting, and he had already created the budget. So it's all that it is that it's due July 1st, which we're now preparing. So we should be in good shape.
And then our next meeting is July 19th, 2022 at 7 p.m. And that'll be a very interesting meeting. That's our yearly meeting during which, as you know, our new exec board will be voted in. So that'll be a very, very fun meeting. With that, thank you for your patience.
We will also be, because we changed the bylaws, selecting committee chairs at that meeting.
Yes, thanks for reminding me. Yes.
So buckle up, it's gonna be long.
Yeah, it'll be
longer than this, you guys?
No, please no.
It probably will be. It'll be even more drama.
Thank you all for hanging in there. It's 10:47, Colby.
Yeah, good job, everyone. I will adjourn the meeting, and we'll see you very soon, July and sooner.